2+2 is proud to bring you the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club.
This week on the Pokercast, Doug Polk, Joe Tall, Scoop with Brian Slick, Isildur returns, and more. Now here they are. If they had an MMA fight, it'd be a statistical tie. Adam and Terrence!
Welcome to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. I'm your host, Dave Schwartz. Along for the ride again this week, Mr. Terrence Chan has survived another week of training, and Mr.
Just barely.
And Rossco P. Coltrane, our producer.
Hey there.
Hi there. No Kessler drop? Not this week.
Hi.
Oh, just you cut out the rest of that drop. The rest of the drop's the best part of that drop.
Nice to be on your show.
Nice to be on your show again. Welcome to the show, everybody. Tough week this week for me. I've been a little bit sick.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised you don't have the Hong Kong avian flu mask on.
I was, because if you get me sick right now, like...
I'm going to replace the guy you're actually fighting.
Yes, that is correct. You're going to have to cut down to 145 pounds and get in the ring and get your ass kicked by that guy.
If I don't get you sick.
Because I will be so mad. No, obviously.
When you have kids, you're basically a petri dish. Your house is a petri dish.
That's what I understand.
It's what happens. But I'm mostly over it now.
There's always like that controversy about like whether you should vaccinate your kids or not. Like maybe you should.
Is there a controversy with that?
Vaccinate yourself all the time when you're just around your kid. Just like inject yourself with like vitamin C like intravenous
nonstop. Yeah, just go to bed with an IV of vitamin C in your arm. Wanted to get to a few things before we get on to some of the poker discussion this week. First of all, the best televised poker hand madness is this is our bracket tournament for the best poker hands in history, televised poker hands in history. There's a thread over in our forum. Head on over there. The deadline for nominations is going to be the start of the Invitational this Sunday, so 10 a.m. Pacific. Get your nominations in. I think we'll end up doing a 32-hand bracket. Johnny Douglas is going to help us set that up, and we will play down to a winner and go through some of the hands there. So that should be some fun. Head on over. Please get your nominations in by this Sunday. I guess first thing, I talked a lot about my traffic problems.
I was going to say, when you said it was a rough week for you, I was worried.
You were worried I got another ticket?
That was
So I've been, like I said, I've been driving the speed limit. Yeah. Yesterday, my kid plays hockey. He plays in rep, and then the spring rep team.
Goalie, right?
And he's a goalie, yeah. And it's sort of important that he's, at all these practices, running late, as you do. Yeah. I'm driving above the speed limit to get him to this hockey practice of his. I turned down this one street in Maple Ridge, and I looked down the end of the street. There's a train going across where I need to go. Now, when this happens, it's generally like a 15-minute train. It's a big-ass train. Going from...
Trains aren't very fast in Canada.
No, and they're going from the ports to the interior with coal, and I mean, they're long. So I can't sit there. I'm going to miss the entire practice. So I do a U-turn. And...
That's legal, isn't it?
No, U-turn is certainly illegal. Now... I didn't look because I'm in a giant hurry. I do the U-turn, and I traded in my car, and I have a Ram pickup truck now, and it's got a huge turning radius. So even though I'm
do it like a few times,
it's a couple of point turn, right? I can't do the whole thing, and I swing it around, and I get turned around, and I almost hit this truck where I come right up to it before I'm going to back up and do my little turn, and I notice it's an undercover cop car.
Fuck.
And there's two cops in the car,
and you just think,
and I freeze. I'm like,
you're done.
Oh. Like I did it right in front of him. It's not even like halfway down the street. I did it and almost bumped his car, like as I'm doing this U-turn. And
that'd have been an epic way to get your license suspended forever. You like actually make an illegal U-turn into a police car,
right?
Crash
hit him. Yeah, exactly.
Like if you're gonna do it, just do it.
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah. So I'm thinking, you're a gambler. When you lose a large amount of money or something bad happens, you get a feeling in the pit of your stomach.
Yes,
I got that times 100.
That's like the closest thing I can think of is like you've bet all your chips on the river, and then you look back at your hand and you don't have the same hand.
Like you got the wrong ace.
But this is far worse.
This is worse. Yeah. So I'm freeze and. my son's sitting there and goes, Dad, that's a cop car. And I'm like, yep, I'm toast.
Thanks,
so
son.
at this point, I'm pot committed. I just got to continue doing it and see what happens, right? I'm already turned around. Yeah. So I do it, and I drive off fully expecting him to light me up, and he just looks at me. As I look at him, and he just looks at me as I drive by and just leaves me and doesn't light me up. And I'm like, holy mackerel.
Adam Schwartz runs good for one time.
One time, I finally fucking wrecked.
Actually, if you were going to use your one time, it was probably your traffic one time.
That was my traffic one time.
You didn't even use it, and you got away with it.
Well, because this ticket would have been so exponentially worse than every other one.
It's so much worse. Like, making illegal turns is so much worse than speeding. Yeah.
Well, but the points, my points are so high now.
Yeah.
When you add this one on,
yeah,
it would have been thousands of dollars. That was just ridiculous. So
sick fade.
Ridiculous fade. I was happy the rest of the day, and I'm sure people can tell how happy I am about it. That I wasn't. I didn't get caught there. Yeah. So that was good. I want to talk. How do you use Twitter? Do you use the app? What do you use?
I just go to twitter.com. I
use twitter.com?
I use it a bit on my phone if I'm like waiting for stuff in line or something like that. But I mostly just go to twitter.com. I've used like Hootsuite and stuff like that in the past. What do you ask?
So I use TweetDeck.
Okay.
Now, TweetDeck,
I know a lot of people use that, yeah.
TweetDeck had an app for your phone. They discontinued it. So now I just use it. But here's the problem. I don't have access to the original email I signed up at Twitter with anymore.
Okay.
The email was adam@bigpoker.ca. I don't have that one anymore. Yeah. So I can't log into Twitter because I don't know what my password is anymore.
So, but when you just go to like twitter.com and it remembers you, so you don't have to log in?
It doesn't do that. Okay. But TweetDeck does. Okay. So I'd logged in, ages ago to TweetDeck, and I can still get in. Now TweetDeck is retiring everything. And I'm screwed. Like, I have no access.
You have no way to access.
And I've tried with Twitter. I'm like, hey, guys, you cannot change it. So we're sorry. You're screwed. Huh. And so I'm going to be, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Creating a new account soon, I guess.
I guess, which sucks because I got to start all over again. But hopefully it'll work.
You have no access to Twitter right now, or you do?
No, I do. TweetDeck is still, it's got a big banner that says we're done. And they actually were supposed to be done June 1st. Okay. So, or May 1st, sorry.
You got a little time to figure that one out.
I don't know what's going to happen.
Maybe somewhere out there who's knowledgeable in the Twitters can help you out.
So, the Players' Championship was this weekend. This is probably, they call it the fifth major, the fifth biggest event that's held every year. On Pinnacle, I have a Pinnacle credit account, and they're great.
Which is totally legal because you're a Canadian.
I'm a Canadian dude.
In a free country.
It's great. You can settle up with Bitcoin or whatever you want, right? And you can actually have access to Pinnacle, which is the best sports betting site out there. Anyway, so I have one of these accounts. I noticed so they play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? On Thursday night, a friend of mine actually pointed out how great the line was for the field bet, which after Thursday. So what they do is they take a whole bunch of the players, the big names out of the field, and then you can bet on the rest of the field. It was like 14-1.
Yeah.
And I looked at the field, and that was included, and it was like, I don't know, 100 players, and a whole bunch of them were close to the lead. I'm thinking, wow, there's no way they're 14-1. Yeah. So I bet way too much money on it at 14-1 because I was just like, there's so much value in this bet. And if one of the guys from the field won, I stood to win the biggest sports bet of my life. Yeah. So it was a huge sweat.
And that's one of the things, like, you say you bet way too much. One of the things that mathematically is when you're getting odds, you need to bet a much smaller percentage of your bankroll. Like, the more odds you're getting, the smaller percentage of the bankroll it is.
Right. But you're pounded it.
It's totally reasonable.
So here I am sweating this. It ends up going into Sunday. I have like 6 of the top 10 guys going into the last round. I have 6 of the top 10, including the leader and a bunch of the guys. There's like 2 guys that can beat me.
Are you thinking about laying it off at this point?
I thought about it, but there's, I think I did actually bet a small amounts on a couple of the guys that I didn't have, not a lot. Now I've got the sweat on Sunday, and it starts going wrong right away. First of all, Sergio Garcia, who I don't have, Pokerstars is Sergio Garcia, starts to have a great round on Sunday. He's out to the lead. Don't have Sergio, of course. He's not part of the field. And then Ricky Fowler goes crazy in the last 6 holes. He's 6 under in the last 6 holes. He's making birdies from everywhere. And it ends up ending in a playoff with Sergio, Ricky Fowler and this guy that I have, Kevin Kisner, who ends up being part of the field. Yeah, so I'm getting 3 to 1. I'm getting 14 to 1 and
2 to 1.
Yeah. So now
can you live bet at this point? Can you just bet on the other two guys?
No, there's no live bet on. There should be live betting on golf at Pinnacle.
Slow enough game.
Yeah, exactly. So the playoff starts. Garcia's out of it. Now it comes down to Kisner and Ricky, and I end up losing the bet. But Kisner has 2 chances, like one from 10 feet to win and one from, 15 or 20 feet or something. And it was pretty gross.
So was his net worth affected as much as your net worth, I guess?
No, not even close.
So basically he was
I was playing for more money than he was.
I've had that too, where I bet on MMA fights, and I just know my result matters more. Because I'm betting like $5K on the guy, and the guy's maybe going to get like another $1K to win. Like,
what do they get for an MMA fight?
Well, now the UFC pays a little bit better. I think the baseline used to be like $1,500 plus $1,500, so $1,500 to show and $1,500 to win. I think the baseline might be like 3-3 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay. So it's decent. It's still 3K for considering how much costs go in the training.
But even the big guys they don't get.
No, the big guys get a lot.
Okay.
I mean, they're like in the 6 or 7 figures a lot of times.
But Dana's making all the money.
George St. Pierre's and your Ronda Rousey. Yeah, those guys, Anderson Silva. Yeah, but Dana, Lorenzo Fertitta, and they're the ones making all the money. The guys in the prelim, like the first fight of the night, like they're making $1,500. And if you're fighting on a non-UFC show, you might be making like $500 or something like that. Yeah.
Are you comfortable talking about where you're?
Yeah, I made. I actually was paid really well. I think I was $750 plus $750 for my.
The first one, Battlefield.
Yeah, no, for Legend FC in Hong Kong. So
okay.
That was pretty good. I mean, most fighters that I knew were pretty impressed by that for a first pro fight.
Gotcha. Did you see this? I think you did. I saw you tweet about it. There was a story this week in talking about the legalization of online poker in California. And it's funny
Paradise Poker
because they always show this stock photo.
Yeah.
And I don't know why this is their stock photo, but it's the same one. It's been the same one for 10, 12 years?
Paradise Poker. He's got a table open and a Starbucks cup.
And a Starbucks, and he's got Paradise. And
Chris Grove was the one who alerted me to this. And, tweeted up there. Yeah. I mean, is Scott Wilson getting royalties on this picture or what? Like,
you would hope so. But it's crazy that there's so many more pictures now that this becomes this. There must be like a database of stock photos that there's like 3 of them, and because it's different news outlets all use the same one.
Yeah, I think there should be like the grandma playing on Zynga. Like that would probably be like the like try to find less appropriate pictures, right? Like because why aren't any of these pictures just like a 24-year-old like in his underwear? Like, with
realism,
with like pee bottles and like Gatorade bottles just strewn all over the desk.
Broken mice all over the place, all over the
yeah, a shattered corner of shattered mice and monitors.
Like a big pile of mice in the corner. That'd be great. All right, let's get to some In Case You Missed It.
Now it's time for In Case You Missed It.
How did he miss the open goal? 6x4, and he comes up 0.
Oh, yes! He missed it!
He's missed it! How on earth did he miss that?
There's been some, how did he miss that in the NHL playoffs this year?
There was
goaltending, and as a result, some of these, I can't believe he didn't score on that.
Yeah, there has been a 6x4.
Yes.
In case you missed it, humans in the challenge, the Carnegie Mellon University Challenge with Doug Polk and others, the poker bot that they had built took them on, and the humans ended up. We talked to Doug in the middle of the challenge, and
they were crushing at the time, and they finished up
crushing, and they finished quite well. They ended up winning.
The menu's zeros.
732 with 3 zeros, up over the 80,000 hands of Head Up No Limit Hold'em. But the interesting part of the whole thing was that the bot designer, the programmer, felt that was not enough to have a statistical edge on, or to say that.
He said this isn't statistically significant, which is about the most BS. Like, I don't know whether this guy is intentionally trying to be deceptive or whether he just doesn't understand, because he says basically that, that $732,000 is the edge, but there were so many millions. I don't remember.
150 million.
Yeah, exactly. Because basically he's counting every single bet that goes into the pot, and no sane poker player would do that. So like basically, if whatever, there's a bet of 1,000 on the turn and a bet on 1,000 on the river or whatever like that.
Well, not even that. This bot would bet 17,000 into an 800 chip pot.
So are you counting?
It is counting the 17,000.
Yeah. So obviously, like when you do that, like the guy's going to fold, the human's going to fold. 99%
of the time.
Yeah. Well, like 4%.
Whatever.
Yeah, 96% of the time or whatever, because you're getting like 27 to 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course that's not how you like. It's he's reaching so hard, and it's really unfortunate because and I tweeted this and I said that like it really does, I think, take away from what is a tremendous accomplishment to build a bot that
only loses 9 big blinds per 100.
Yeah, nine big blinds 100 against some of the best players in the world. I think that's incredible what they've done. But to say that it's a tie just shows that you don't understand what's going on. It's I don't know if it's a misunderstanding. I tweeted at the dude and the team.
Did he respond?
No, and there's no response. And in fact, I looked at the guy's Twitter. He did respond to somebody else who was very critical about it and very in a very dismissive fashion. So I think he's just sort of ignoring tweets on this topic because I'm not the only one who's tweeted at this guy. And it's unfortunate because I think, he's just at this point trying to protect themselves or to make themselves look better. I mean, here's the recent tweet.
Well, here's the quote from him. This is exactly what he said. He's Thomas Sandholm is his name. Quote, "We knew Claudico was the strongest poker program in the world, but we had no idea before this competition how it would fare against 4 top 10 poker players," Sandholm says. "It would have been no shame for Claudico to lose to a set of such talented pros, so even pulling off a statistical tie with them is a tremendous achievement." It surprises me that somebody that this is this intelligent would say something like this because it shows a general lack of understanding of how poker works. This guy built a poker bot.
It's like saying that there's 150 million wagered and that's the number you should compare. That the 170 million after the 700,000 whatever difference is sort of like saying, okay, basketball team number 1 beat basketball team number 2 by like 30 points every game in a 7-game series. But if you look at the actual number of possessions, then they didn't actually beat them by that much because like 30 points over, I don't know how many possessions.
Not statistical relevant.
It's not, but nobody counts points per possession in a basketball game. You count how many points you win by to make the determination or whether you win the game. It's absurd. And so I found that the tweet, their Twitter is at SCSATCMU, which is a little hard to remember, but it's not that hard to find. It's CMU Computer Science. And, somebody sort of challenged them on it. This is said that 10 BB 100 is a huge win rate. And, they responded, well, Doug Polk said that the AI's win rate was impressive, and then the guy wrote back, this guy was at Flexi CRM, minus 10 BB 100 means that AI plays a little bit better than bad players and way worse than good players, right? And he responds to them saying, well, the actual rate's more like 9.1 BB 100, which is correct, but completely ignores the point. And then I see other people tweeting at it. It's really, really unfortunate, I think.
It's like he's trying to justify funding or something, right?
It's okay that you lost. Just take it like a man. Like people weren't expecting
you to win.
Limit Hold'em to be solved in the year 2015 or that you did this awesome thing, and it makes absolutely no sense that you have to continue to act like this. I had somebody tweet at me and sort of say that it could be a funding thing that when it comes to academics, a lot of the times that they need to protective and they need to justify this, but it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, so the results after the 80,000 hands, Bjorn won 529,000. Doug picked up 213,000. Dong Kim won 70,000, and Jason Les lost 80,000 over the ends.
So another thing, this is what sort of spawned my original tirade was I read a blog called Marginal Revolution. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a pretty popular economics blog and and economics and current events blog. And it was there, and the headline was, of course, bot plays best humans in the world to a tie, right? So they basically ran with that narrative and said it's a tie, and then kind of don't do the homework to say, well, actually it was closer to tie. And then so I actually went in the comments section and I said what basically I just said is like, this wasn't a tie, this was a blowout.
Yeah.
And so people were all over me saying like, oh, you're one of these defensive poker players that like, you think you're so much better than me. I'm like, no, nobody is more in favor or more understanding of the potential for artificial intelligence, especially in poker and in gaming contexts, than me. I'm very aware of it. Trust me. I was a professional limit hold'em player. I'm very aware of what's going on when it comes to this. And one of them actually says, well, the program actually beat Jason Lest, who's one of the best 10 players in the world for 80,000. Do you think you could do that? And I'm like,
I'm not one of the best 10, but
that's not the point.
Yeah,
that's not the point. And the fact that it lost, it won this and it lost way larger amounts to Bjorn and to Doug. It tells you that. Like, I would bet you a lot of money. I wouldn't bet Jason Lest that I can beat him at heads up no limit hold'em, but I sure as hell would bet that I could take on these 4 guys and lose less than 9 BB 100.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not sure I could. I wonder about that.
I mean, I do not think I would lose 9 BB 100 to these guys. I mean, I don't. I mean, especially since as a human, I have the ability to adjust and I can to some extent mimic what they do. I have an understanding of knowledge. Like that's why we're kind of saying that right now humans are still better than this bot. I don't think you would lose 9 BB 100 either.
I don't know. I don't
think most strong players would
lose. The action was streamed live on Twitch. We're going to have Doug Lee. We're going to have we're not going to have Doug Lee because would Doug Lee lose more than 9 big blinds for him?
No comment.
We're going to have Doug Polk on later to give us a quick recap of how it went for him. I did watch some of the action on Twitch. You can go back and watch some of them if you want. They are going to be the highlights of the match, and I don't know how they're going to do this because they're going to on Poker Night in America, the television show that's on CBS weekly. They're going to put some of the hands and some of the highlights in one of their shows. Not sure exactly how they're going to do that. If the
I hope
television
is somebody hero calling 27K into a $700.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have some of those. I watched some. Like I said, I watched some of the stream. I noticed Doug kind of lost interest or was distracted a lot. In the second half. We'll ask him about that later. But the other question I wanted to ask was, do you think this is a good measuring stick on how good these 4 players are in general? Like, is Bjorn that much better than Jason Less, or is this enough hands?
I don't think it's
to
20,000 hands each, right?
Or maybe they play well against a bot and not a human, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean that could be some attempt, the extent to which they attempt to adjust against the bot, or whether they play their games. But I mean, I don't think 20,000 hands is a strong enough sample, especially. I mean, I guess the pairings, did they keep static pairings all the way through, or did they alternate pairings?
I'm not sure. We can ask Doug.
That is something we should ask Doug. But I mean that's what really kind of shows the I guess the run good and the run bad between the quartet.
In case you missed it, the World Series of Poker had their annual media conference call to take questions about the 2015 World Series of Poker. So they do this every year. This is a media call-in. It's a big conference call. Anybody who wants to get on it can email them and get on it. I've been on it before, but I didn't bother with it this year.
You're interested this year?
Well, you can generally just read the summary, and there's. I actually wish somebody.
I followed a little bit on Twitter, so it was like hashtag WSOPCC, I think, and then there are some people live tweeting it. So I was like, well, I might as well just let other people do the work for me.
Right. Well, one question I was hoping would get asked was about the WSOP.com bug that we talked about earlier. That I don't know if that's going to be fixed in time for the online bracelet event, which hopefully they are going to get to. But of course, it's so difficult to get changes through the Nevada Gaming Commission that I'm not 100% confident that that's going to happen. The call was hosted by Seth Polanski. Some of the highlights were the ESPN programming is going to expand to 2.5 hours each Sunday night, running after SportsCenter from 8:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. I believe that's up from 2 hours in past years.
Do you think that's a good time slot? I mean, that's after football ends and all of that.
Yeah, I think it's better than mid-football for sure.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Sundays are. I think that's a real good time slot. Actually, 8:30 or prime time still, and people are up till 11 most of the time, and if they're going to watch, they're going to watch.
Watching poker on TV is not like a stimulating, super stimulating thing. It's just one of those things you can watch.
You can zone out,
relax it, and passing. Yeah,
exactly. November 9 is going to play down to the final 4 on Sunday, then to 2 on Monday, and a winner on Tuesday, which has been different. Of course, we've had 2 days of the final table in the past.
3 and then to 1, yeah.
The problem was the first day was so long.
Yes.
It took forever to play that first day, and it's generally on a Sunday.
Yeah, it's got to be rough on the players, rough on the production staff, just overall in general. And I think this is probably a positive change. I don't think inconveniencing basically 2 extra players to make them play in extra days.
Right, and they're there for
all millionaires.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's good for the television coverage for sure. So I like that change. 888 Poker is going to send at least 100 players to the main event. Of course, they are the provider for WSOP.com and others, so that's a big one. They're going to send 100 players is significant. Not as we look back to the glory years of Pokerstars.
I don't remember what the biggest Pokerstars.
I want to say it was like 600.
Yeah, that's the number I had in my head too.
Yeah, it was a lot. I remember when I won my way in, and they had a room at the Rio. Remember, Rich Corbin was running the room,
right?
And he had piles and piles and piles of goodie bags for people. There was the luggage bag.
Those are so cool.
Those are great.
Yeah.
That everybody got for qualifying online, and it was just a zoo.
If you ever read Dan Goldman's blog too,
Small Talk Dan.
Yeah, smalltalkdan.com. You'll read about how a lot of that merchandise had to be altered during some of those years because they didn't want a .com, so they had to put little pieces of tape all over the .com, or they had to redesign the logo to make it a dot and mouse because they couldn't even have .net. It's just silly stuff that happened. It's fun stories.
Other entities that are sending players to the World Series of Poker, Winamax in France and BCLC here in BC are sending many players down to the World Series of Poker this year. We're winning satellites to get in. DraftKings.com is going to have a lounge up in the Pavilion stage.
The return of the gaming site lounges. We haven't had many gaming sites. Oh, I guess the European sites have had some, but none that I've been able to get to.
So the Pavilion stage is where they do if I remember this correctly, they do the presentations of the bracelets. Remember, is that the Pavilion stage?
I think that might be in Brasilia.
Brasilia is where that's right. Last year they did the Brasilia ones. It was the year before I think they did Pavilion. So anyway, the Pavilion is a big stage, so they're going to have a lot of room up there for, I don't know if it's going to be for DraftKings, people have DraftKings account or...
But it's also a weird place to have it because you're in a lounge and then you're up on an elevated
stage.
Platform.
It's not really a lounge. Yeah. I don't know how they're going to build that out.
Last year, I think the Pavilion was the WSOP.com. They had a lounge area, and nobody used it ever.
Really?
That was sort of the area where
internet was.
The idea was you go there and you hang out and you play on WSOP.com. Absolutely nobody ever used it.
They did mention that internet will be available on. They didn't say free. And, you might think, of course it's going to be free, but we're talking about the Caesars here. Sometimes
it is Caesars,
not.
but it always has been free in their defense.
So hopefully they've upgraded it. It's better. They want everybody playing on WSOP.com at the same time. Yeah. They're talking about, making allowances for people who are playing on WSOP.com at the table while in an event.
Right.
If they're playing a hand on WSOP.com and they're under the...
I always thought that, electronic gaming wasn't legal in that, but
you can't use headphones when you're in the money, right?
That's a completely different thing. But I'm just talking about a lot of times when you're in a sports book, you're not allowed electronic devices. You're not allowed to. You certainly couldn't be on your iPad at a blackjack table. They would freak the hell out. But it's kind of funny to do that. Do you think more people will be playing WSOP.com or playing Open Face Chinese?
It's OFC.
Yeah,
I don't know. Is OFC dying out?
I don't think so. I don't even think it'll be close.
So OFC update, by by the way, while we're on this subject. Okay. Remember I was mentioning that I was
your
crushing
friend that you were destroying. Is regress to the mean?
It has. I was up. There was a 2,100 point swing last time when I brought it up.
So it was justified that he refused to quit you.
He was just mad, furious. I showed you some of the texts. He was on tilt a lot of the time. And now I know how he feels because now there's been an 850 point swing back.
Wow. So a third of it.
And I'm just every day I just log on and lose 200 points. It's crazy. I'm just nonstop.
That must be how he felt.
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you think OFC, I don't play very much OFC. Do you think OFC is more tilting than just poker?
No, I don't think so. Poker is
Source?
much more tilting than OFC. Well, I've been up for winners in this game for a long time, so maybe it's just my current situation that makes it less tilting for me. But anyway, so that was the DraftKings update. They're going to have that lounge. They're using new cards this year. Modiano.
That's always scary
because we remember
had issues with cards in the past. We've had marked cards. I don't remember what year it was, but there was one year where the cards were just marked all the time.
Not just marked, but on the actual underside of the card where you see what rank you have.
Yeah.
The 6s and the 9s looked alike, remember, in the colors.
I don't know if that was the same year, but yes, I know what you're talking about. They and that was only like for one event, and then they replaced them all. But it was impossible to tell the 6s and the 9s, and you couldn't peel the suits. And but there was one year where the cards were just really poor quality, and they would just mark up
a storm.
I remember like there was a card. We had like 6 distinct marks on this card. Like it was the ace. It was just one card. I don't even know. I think it might have just been like a 7 or something like that. But this card was like destroyed to bits. So that's always scary. Hopefully they've actually like played these and tried to like behave like players the way that
So I wonder. I've always wondered about this because often when you're playing cash games, you'll have a card that's marked. And it's generally you look at it, and it's the ace or a high-ranking card is generally got a thumbprint or the nail print in it. And then I've always wondered, okay, is that somebody actually marking these cards, or is it because these cards get played much more often than the deuces?
They get played much more often. They get
handled, and somehow
they get squeezed. Like a lot of the times, when you get aces cracked, your hand tenses up, and you just kind of fire your cards into the muck or something like that. I think there's some of that going on. I would like to think that like 95% of the time, or even higher than that, I suppose.
It's probably
accidental. Like you said, like. People don't just play deuces in their hand. Like, you kind of look and you peel a deuce and it tends to go into the muck. But with an ace or a king, you're just so often playing these hands.
Yeah, they get a lot of use.
It is always really scary when you see like a marked up ace.
The new cards this year are Modiano is the company. They're going to be going through 50,000 decks.
Wow, that's
50,000.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about how many tables and how many events, but that is really amazing. That's a lot of playing cards. That's
Ivy's got a couple right now. He's checking out to see if there's any edge sorting going on. I'm sure. No. Next one is bracelets are going to be customized for each specific event.
So that just means engraved?
I thought that was a thing already. I didn't realize that wasn't a thing.
I guess they're just all generic other than the main event. So
maybe they put your name on it or something now, or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they ever did before, but you think it says the event. So this would be nice.
I wish we knew.
Either of us had a World Series bracelet event.
I do have one. It's not mine.
Oh.
I have my brother's.
Well, oh, yeah.
He gave us.
I thought did you like buy one off TJ?
God,
or
no.
Like that?
No. Off TJ. No, my brother gave me. Oh, speaking of my brother, he. If anybody's out there looking at these fantasy pools and such, I went out for.
He's going to play a lot.
Yeah, we were at Mother's Day brunch with our mother, and he mentioned he's going to play schedule. He's got
Happy Mother's Day.
We
totally should have started with that off the top, but I guess we missed it. But yeah, Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
To our fine moms, for sure. And he's going to play 30 events he's got on the schedule. So, but they're going to be a lot of No Limit Hold'em, and I'm sure.
I thought your brother likes the mixed games.
He does.
The limit games.
He does play those.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to play like the 10K deuce to 7 or anything like that. So, but it'll be.
So you should draft them, but maybe you didn't spend too much money on him. Kind of, he's a good like $10 pick.
He's a good last round pick because if he binks a couple of things, which he has the ability to do, you never know, right?
He's done it before.
He has. So that's your Dan Idema update. One of the other things is the structures for the 5K and below have been changed. The 5K events and below are now going to be a 5 times multiplier for starting chips. In the past, it was 3.
Yeah.
Now, this I always cringe when I see stuff like this because this doesn't make tournaments better by rule.
It makes people think that tournaments are better.
It could make them better. Depending on
it makes the first 2-3 levels deeper, and then it just regresses to everything else anyway.
And how important is it to have that many chips when you're playing 25-50 in a limit hold'em, say, or something like that, right? Yeah. It makes in some terms
in no limit and PLO it matters obviously, but but it really only matters the first 3 levels. People think that they're getting more play, but this is clearly to stop people from going over and playing the Venetian deep stacks, and I put deep stacks in big fat air quotes because the exact same thing applies to them as it does to any other tournament. When you increase the number of chips, you're really only pushing where the bust outs happen by a little bit. It doesn't get any deeper. deeper. And to me, the big concern is, and that's fine. If it's just a marketing if it were just a marketing play, it wouldn't really be that big a deal to me. But the problem is that if you're going to multiply the chips, you have to do it for all events. Otherwise, you introduce the possibility of people moving chips in other tournaments.
Because it's very easy for them.
Exactly. Because if you're entering a 1K tournament and you have 5,000 in chips, and then you have a 5K
with 5,000 in chips.
Yeah, or even 15,000 in chips. Now those chips from the 1K are worth less, and you should. I mean, not should. If you're an ethical person, you have an incentive to move them over to the larger event, and that's always a bad thing. Especially, it's just so bad. Like the World Series is not immune to having had chip discrepancy, chip balancing errors. They've done it in the past. So why would you create a situation where that's possible? Just make them all 5x if you really need to do that. But and the other thing is that going back to how this is really just a marketing point. A lot of the times the structures just end up compensating for the fact that you get more chips at the beginning right anyway, right? Like, so, I mean, you could be like, yeah, I'm having a $100 tournament, you get a zillion starting chips, but if the blinds are actually, a quarter zillion and half a zillion, then you really only starting with two people. Like, it's just silly. Yeah. It's just silly.
The Colossus and the Millionaire Maker are 10 times multiplier.
Just come on. Like, you're just...
They are. Now, I will say in those, when you're having, like the Colossus we'll talk about in a bit, there's a possibility of 25,000 people playing this event.
Yeah.
Those first levels are going to be a little bit more important than they would be in another tournament, I think.
I agree.
So
and you want to play deeper, especially if you're a good player. But by the way, the Colossus is just this thing that's just designed to make EV for good players. I'm convinced, especially now, because not just the smaller buy-in, but now you're making it deeper at the beginning so that recreational players can make bigger mistakes against pros, and you get to re-enter
4 times.
So basically, like. The rec fish are just going to get absolutely smashed in this thing by the pros. Like they're just EV is terrible. Plus the rake is really bad. It's just like you're lighting money on fire if you're just a poor player who just decided to enter this thing.
Yeah, if you get really deep,
pro, then the opposite.
Then you're good. Yeah.
Sure.
The Super Seniors event is the weekend after the Seniors event. This is a new event. It's 65 and over.
Yeah.
Because
apparently all those guys were sick of playing with a 50-year-old snot-nosed kids.
That's right. I don't know quite.
I mean, I'm joking, but I'm kind of not. They obviously made it for a reason. Like they could have just had 2 seniors events, but I mean, I guess legitimately there might have been some like really 70 plus folks who were like, well, that guy is so young, what's he doing in here, what's Men Win, or what's Bill Edler, or what I don't want to play Dan Heimiller,
I'm 3 years away.
You're 3 years away, exactly. Bitch
exactly. So that's I don't mind it. I like it. I mean, you're creating a new
I know I think it's funny.
Yeah,
I think it's funny. I'm trying to think about. I was actually having lunch with the old co-host of the show, your old co-host Michael Johnson, and we were talking about how would we be able to make it so that I would actually have an edge in this tournament, or like if you're if you're a woman and let's say you're Vanessa Salps, you just get this huge advantage because you get to play the ladies events against arbitrary fields. Like how would I or how would Ross make a have like a
structure of the event
where you just have like an EV, because Ross is like a young white guy. It's going to be really hard to make a tournament that allows him in and yet gives him an edge.
Guys that don't drink.
The guys that don't drink. Oh yeah, me and Ross.
That's not a great.
That's not a great one because guys are probably pretty good at poker.
A whole bunch of sober guys.
Guys that don't smoke weed.
Yeah,
that's a pretty small subset.
Yeah, that might eliminate some pros.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, so we'll have to think about the guys who don't smoke weed invitational tournament for
guys who have one buy-in to this tournament.
I would be guys who have their license suspended.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going to crush in that event.
Yeah. I could play that too.
Oh, really? You got that one?
God, driving everybody to this thing next week.
Guys who took the bus here.
We're going to crush the public transit tournament. Getting back to the chip thing, where you were talking about giving people incentive to take chips out of tournaments and putting them in other ones.
I really hope they reconcile the chips after every tournament that shows up even.
Well, I want technology to advance to the point where we have RFID in chips, and I want that to happen, and I want it to happen soon. And here's how I want it to happen.
Okay.
Not tell anybody. Not announce that this is a thing.
Yeah.
Now, I know they will because they just want to discourage people from even trying. But can you imagine if they did it and didn't tell anybody?
Yeah.
And just go public with everybody they caught that would
be so
cool. It would be amazing.
I mean, but like there would be like a chance that like $100, a big chip just like falls into somebody's like.
But if you had, if they had video,
fell home or something like that, like and we implicate the wrong person or something like that. But yeah, or what if like. What if you just framed somebody by like taking a chip off,
sliding in their pocket? No, but if you had actual video
you're right.
of a guy palming it and taking
it'll never happen, but it is super cool.
It would
like
be.
The justice part of you feels like it's almost better to catch people than to prevent.
Right.
So like from an overall macro societal perspective, it's always better to prevent bad behavior than catch it.
Yeah, exactly.
But
dissuade it.
That would be cool. But yeah, that should unquestionably be the thing, especially just for for like 1K chips and above. I mean, nobody's saying you have to spend all the money doing it on the 100 tournament chip value, the black chips and the purple chips.
Right. Yeah. Nobody's putting the 25
the big chips. Yeah.
Hotel bookings are double what they were to this point last year, and they urge you to book as soon as possible if you're heading over to the World Series. Get your hotel settled.
I mean, I would certainly expect that for like the Colossus week.
Well, that's what I think it is. I think that's driving it. And when they say it's double, I think because we've got the Colossus right at the beginning, and there's so many people registered. We'll talk about that in a second already. I think that's most of the pre-bookings, or it makes sense that would be it anyway. So if you were going after the Colossus, then I think you're probably all right because people will be scooted out of town by then. And next thing was on the same vein, pre-reg numbers are off the charts. This is
not surprising.
Also not surprising. You can wire your money into the Rio Cage and pre-register for as many events as you want. And this year they're, again, way off the charts, probably due to the Colossus, I would think. Wi-Fi available in all areas we talked about. You can play live and online at the same time. That seems to be encouraged. The online event's going to play down to 6 players. You have to be in Nevada. Of course, you can qualify from outside of Nevada on WSOP.com, but you have to actually be in the state of Nevada.
How do you qualify outside?
If you're in New Jersey and you're playing on the 888 software or whatever, you can
New Jersey, Nevada,
you can qualify. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, but to play it, you have to be within the state of Nevada. 2 days later, after they play down to 6, the final table is going to be played out live at the Rio. We talked about this before.
And they said I think I read something that they'll actually fly you down if you don't live in Las Vegas or something like that. So they'll arrange that for you.
Which, again, is strange to me because it's an online event. Why do you need to bring 6 people back? I mean, it's an online event.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they want the thing, but I mean, if you live in like Wells or something like that, and I guess you get a free trip to Vegas out of it.
Yeah, or if you're coming from Kells. Would be
Kells, Nevada.
That's right. So the online event, Colossus. Ty Stewart has said, or did say, if it's not by a large margin, the largest event in the history of poker, it will be a disappointment.
Prepare to get disappointed because there's this thing called like the Sunday
online poker, and the way he said, and he actually said, this is a direct quote: "If it's not by a large margin, the largest event in the history of poker will be a disappointment." He had just finished talking about the online event and how the Rio is bringing it in to reflect the changing face of poker, and then he makes a statement that clearly.
It's so disingenuous because it's basically ignoring the existence of Pokerstars.
Right.
That's basically what it's saying. Is that like it's this?
It's a
giant.
shot.
There's a giant elephant in the room. There's a
shots fired.
There's this giant elephant in the room that we're just choosing to ignore. It's been the largest force in poker for like the last 6 years, like
at least
8 years. Yeah, it's by far like.
And to say something like that was ridiculous. I thought, and he could say, and he could easily say, in the history of live poker.
Yeah.
It's
right.
but he clearly made a point of saying the history of poker.
It's a disappointment, Ty.
Sportsbooks, they talked about putting up lines for some of the final tables and I believe even the starting of the events. Probably going to be just the main event.
So sad because that year that we could bet on like the final tables, that was so good.
That was fun, right?
Yeah.
But there's so much juice piled into those lines that their excuse that it's probably just going to be a main event. They can't make money, I guess, or whatever.
Speaking of betting the field, by the way, you talked about the golf thing. I would to bet the field now. I would like to bet the field now, please.
See the guy who wins. You're not going to know. I mean, like last year, who do we know from the final table?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Martin Jacobson was probably one of the better notes.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the. If you want to check out the summary of the entire call, you can Google World Series of Poker Media Call, and there's a couple of sites out there.
WSOPCC is a hashtag on Twitter.
There you go. You can find that out.
Yeah.
Were you talking about the main event final table?
Yeah.
Newhouse.
Oh, of course, yeah, Newhouse.
Yeah.
Right,
Duh.
Wouldn't have been in the field. He wouldn't have been in the field. But
he would not have been in the field.
So.
Oh, no. Okay. I see what you're saying.
One of the guys who probably wouldn't have been in the field did win.
Yep.
So, and more in the World Series of Poker, they do not allow chops. Ryan LaPlante was took to Twitter this week, and he was tweeting at Seth Polanski if the World Series of Poker has any future, or they have any plans in the future to allow chops. And Seth kind of answered in a fashion that he tends to do sometimes, appearing to take somebody's suggestion into account, but not really. It was pretty clear from some of the responses that they do not want to do this. They like the way it is right now, but they want to sort of pander to people's concerns and make it sound like they want to take your voice into account,
right,
but
we'll
really
take
don't.
One of the things, like, we'll look to get feedback and we'll see if next year we'll consider it or whatever.
So I'm paraphrasing some of his tweets, but he said that, okay, we'll ask the players if it's worth having 25% rake to allow chops, which is so disingenuous because it doesn't cost you 2.5 times what it does now to simply allow chops. And, other casinos do this.
I don't understand what rake has anything to do with the...
Well, he's saying that there's increased administration. I think this is what he's saying. There's increased administration. They've got to go to the Nevada Gaming Commission and apply and spend all this time, and that's going to cost us money, et cetera.
Well, why don't you say there's like a $500 fee for chops? That should cover
something
it.
Like that,
whatever.
yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous, or it's really brutal. And I'm sure you have more thoughts on this too. But the other thing that's incredibly player unfriendly, that's sort of in this vein, is and Russ Fox, the accountant, talked about it. The not allowing 1099s for splitting backer action.
Right.
That's
they used to allow that. They don't anymore.
Exactly. They used to allow that, and they don't. I don't remember the exact reason why they don't. But the fact is that. The vast majority of poker players who are hitting big scores in the World Series are back to some extent. They have sold. They have sold action. They have traded action.
But I think they can, in their taxes, I think they can count for that.
Yeah, but I mean, we should probably have Russ or somebody like that come on and talk about this. We're not even Americans, so it doesn't affect us nearly as much. But my understanding is it's made a lot easier if the World Series would just issue 1099s and make that thing, because accept the reality, and make things a little bit easier on your pros, even non-pros. I mean, Chris Moneymaker was an amateur when he won.
You had a piece of him.
Yeah, I had a piece of Raymer.
Raymer.
Moneymaker was notably he sold half of his action to his best friend and his dad or something like that, and it was 100% an amateur at the time. So why would you not do I don't understand the stance you take on this.
I know I have an idea why they don't do it, because when they did allow it, I remember back to when I was playing World Series events a lot more often and made some deep runs. Whenever you bust out of a tournament, there's a guy standing beside the cage willing to sign as your backer. There's a lot of fraud.
For sure.
There was guys willing to sign to be your backer, to take the tax hit in exchange for some money. Now, what happens is these guys don't pay their taxes or whatever they do, but that's not really the Rio's issue. I don't know why that's fraud being committed, but that's fraud being committed by the two players.
Unless the IRS came down on them and said that, this is happening and, you have to do something about it, but it seems
like a police something that should be a law enforcement issue.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those things where the WSOP just doesn't care enough. If they said one time hey, this is happening, you need to stop doing it, they're not going to be no, we're going to fight for the rights of our players. No, they're just going to not do it.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
The quote was from another quote that Seth had was there have been discussions. It's a very complicated situation. The general public, as well as the ESPN producers and viewers, don't want to see tournaments played with chops. It's the World Series of Poker's job to look at big picture, and they believe the casual poker player fan may not understand chops. Now, I don't know how you can make this comment matter-of-factly when first of all, it's an opinion, and it's not backed up by any kind of facts. that you can make that comment as justification.
That people just don't understand chop because if you look at the Sunday Million every weekend, you see all the players. I don't know if this is still happening. I think they might have disabled chat at the final. Everybody's talking about, you guys are making top. You guys make a chop. Like, it's crazy. Like,
threads start about them.
Exactly. Like, there's awareness of this.
And the EPT, by the way, has chops, and the chops are televised.
Right.
The discussions are televised. People are interested in it. There's no bigger success story than the EPT.
And all you have to do is have Lon and Norm do a 15-second spiel explaining, like, hey, these guys put up the money by themselves, and they can do this. There's nothing shady going on. Whatever, however you want to craft the message, because you have full control basically over what they said. Like, it's such an easy
or
thing to do.
Completely ignore it. How is anybody going to tell?
I mean, I wouldn't do that. I mean, if I wouldn't want to go around claiming that this guy won $8 million when he really won 6.9. Like, I wouldn't want.
They
to
do that now. I mean, there's chops now at the World Series of Poker. They're not facilitated by the Rio,
right?
And the Rio knows that they happen,
right? And that's the really unfortunate part, is because like you say, they are lying about it, and they're saying that this guy won $495,000 when we know that this happened because they had to do some backroom deal. But what they can do now is stick their fingers in their ears and go, la 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 la, he won $500,000. If they're facilitating it, they don't get to stick their fingers in their ears, basically.
And the day is going to come where this turns really ugly. With the current way it happens right now.
You mean somebody's going to get scammed?
Somebody's going to get scammed for a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really, really bad for poker, press, World Series of Poker, televised,
and I'm
everything.
worried that when they do that, they'll say, well, we didn't sanction it. We've never sanctioned it. Like, they're just going to say this is your fault, not our fault.
Oh, they clearly will do that.
Yeah. I mean, and that's really, again, it just comes to like this incredibly player-unfriendly policy. It's the same with the 1099 issue, and it's the same with the chops issue. Like, look, if you're really that worried about it, do what Stars does, make them play for something. And they're playing for a World Series bracelet anyway, which you guys say is
so
like
valuable.
The biggest deal.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, the glory and the prestige, and every poker pro wants one of these things, and they fight their whole life.
And to a point, they do.
Yeah, and it's true because the fact is people will play for the bracelet. Like,
absolutely,
even
they'll play hard.
The money off the table, they'll still play pretty hard for it because you want to win the. I mean, every poker player is competitive. Like, bottom line, every poker player is competitive. They just want to win. Even if it was a Casio watch, they would be playing for it to begin with. And the thing has some value. Like, it has some financial value. It's made out of whatever 14 karat gold or whatever.
The biggest thing in the world to a poker player, as far as prestige goes, without question, is a World Series of Poker bracelet.
Correct, because there's still no indicator that's quite like that. Right?
None. Yeah. And so for any suggestion that poker players, and this is what they're saying, because they're saying television viewers aren't interested. The producers of television don't want this to happen because it's going to somehow magically.
Now they're not playing for the.
They're not going to play hard.
And I would argue, and this is just me speculating, that like if you've got a guy playing for, let's say it's a prelim event, and first place is $500,000 and second place is $350,000. The average guy at home thinks $350,000. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
like they always do that. Like, I mean, you've probably had this come up to you where you finished like 8th place at a tournament and you won like $1,600.
Way to go!
Yeah, exactly. And you're thinking,
thanks.
oh man, first place was like $25K.
Yeah.
I was, I got bad beats so hard. Like, and you're pissed off that you got 8th,
and you feel like a dick when you are.
But the average guy on the street is like, oh my God, you won 8th place. That's so amazing.
Yeah,
there's just no internal consistency here.
In case you missed it, the Colossus might already be the biggest live event of all time. Not the largest poker event. The biggest live event of all time. It has a $5 million prize pool. I think it's 2 weeks away, right? The start of it. They already have more than the 8,773 runners in the 2006 World Series of Poker main event, of course, which was taken down by.
Don't even say the name. You're not supposed to say the name. No.
Not allowed to say the name.
Yeah,
okay.
Everybody
knows who won that.
Top.
Yes. They made reference to the fact that this is already eclipsed. Their pre-registration's already eclipsed that number. They're talking about, I think they mentioned that the maximum amount of people that they can handle for this event, 24,200.
God, do you think they could get that?
Well, that's entries. So remember, you can enter 4 times. So I don't think it'll be even a issue. I think they get to that number easily.
Wow.
When you consider entries.
So they'll definitely sell out some flights, basically.
Yeah.
They'll have to sell out some flights.
This is going to be a total zoo.
Yeah.
Just I wish I was there. I wish I was there, and I don't wish I was there.
Yeah,
because it's going to be.
Would you play it? Like if my fight weren't happening and you were there,
if I was there, I would play it. Yeah.
I just feel like I'd want to stab myself in the throat.
You would, but how do you turn it down?
No, I know.
You just can't. I mean, it's.
Well, you would play. You definitely play the one flight. The question is whether
would
after
you
bust out, would you play the other one,
or want to stick a rusty nail in your eye?
Yeah.
Last thing,
I'm getting in the cage with another man to get punched in the face instead.
And you're okay with that.
Instead of on the event.
So you mentioned, I saw you tweet that the guy better be ready. Like you're ready for this.
I am ready to die in there.
Terrence is fired up.
Good, excellent drop. I really am. I feel like I've blogged about this a little, and I'm going to blog it a bit about more at terrencechanpoker.com about how you always, like, if you prepare so much for something, you tend to think that the other guy can't possibly have prepared as well.
Meanwhile, he is.
I'm sure he is. Like, that's the thing. But it's in your head, like, thinking, like,
I can't do more.
Exactly. That's exactly the way it is. And it's much the same way that poker players think, like, oh, nobody runs worse than me. Well, of course there's somebody out there who's running worse than you.
Yeah.
It's like the sort of Mike Mattis out, like, nobody's unlucky as I am. But it's like, nobody could be, I can't conceive of a way that this guy's training as much and as hard and as smart and putting this much in and, like, focusing on their diet. And, I've got an electric stim machine hooked up to me doing the
Can people see that thing?
Right now.
Are we on Twitch?
We're not on Twitch right now, so maybe we'll tweet a picture or something.
So
like
you've got this thing, electrodes tied up to your body, and your muscles are making all kinds of weird movements.
Yeah, it's an electrostim machine. Electrostim's been around physiotherapy for a really long time. If anybody out there has ever had like a major injury, like a knee surgery or something like that, you might have gone to a physiotherapist and they kind of hooked you up to one of these. But they just kind of started selling these for home use in the last few years now. So I bought one. It was like $1,000. I'm hooked up. I've got my back's a little sore, so I'm hooked up to.
So it's sending little electrical shocks, stimulating your muscles.
Yeah, do me a little recovery, or you can train them. I'm actually going to wear this thing at the World Series, I think, when I play this year, and so that I can, because the World Series is a lot of sitting. Sitting's bad for you, so I figure if I get a little electrical stimulation to like my thighs and my lower extremities, then that might mitigate some of that a little bit. So,
last thing in the World Series of Poker, the schedule for this year's World Series of Poker Europe has been announced. This is in Berlin at the Spielbank Casino. Runs from October 8th to the 24th. We're thinking about attending this thing. MJ wants to go too, so it might be a bunch of us.
I would do Berlin.
Be fun, right?
I've never been to Germany. I would check that out.
Ross, you been in Germany?
No.
Any interest?
I've never been to Europe.
How's your German? Are you going to be able to be our tour guide the way that I help you out in Macau?
No, I can understand a few things in German because growing up, I was around some German speaking at family functions and stuff.
Right,
but
right. How long have the Schwartzes been in?
I can say Flammenwerfer.
What is that?
What do you think Flammenwerfer would be?
Flammen is maybe flaming or something like that.
Flame, yeah. There's a flame involved.
What's the last part again?
Werfer.
I can't think of what that might mean.
Flamethrower.
Oh, flamethrower. Yeah.
A random word.
That'll come in really, really handy.
That was a lot around the Schwartz family. Yeah. We're talking about flamethrowers.
How long have the Schwartzes been in Canada? So, like, how far?
My dad came when he was 11. He was born in 1942, so 1953.
Okay.
He was.
So you should speak German. Come on.
I should.
Yeah.
I don't. We had to take a language here. When you grew up in BC, you had to take a language in university.
Right. High school, you mean?
High school. Did I say university?
Yeah.
High school. I ended up taking French because that was the one that everybody took. So
Yeah.
I could have taken German. I should have, but I didn't. All right. So that's the World Series of Poker Europe, taking care of 10 bracelet events and tons of side events. So that's going to be pretty crazy series. I think that's the most bracelet events they've handed out away from the World Series of Poker.
Germany would be fun to go to.
Germany would be fun. It's a great, especially during October.
Both my parents are in Europe right now.
The thing about Oktoberfest in Germany is that it's actually in September.
Really?
Yeah. This series runs from October 8th to 24th. From what I remember, I think I went over there a few years back for an affiliate thing, and I'm like, yeah, Oktoberfest. And it was like 3 weeks ago. Like, what?
Is that just like a thing? It used to be in October? Or
I don't know. Or maybe they're celebrating the upcoming month of October or whatever they're doing.
Neither Ross or I drink beer, so I mean, we're not missing out too much. So we'll get like the reduced prices. We won't have to deal with all the tourists, and we can just eat more bratwurst.
That's right. In case you missed it, a brawl broke out at Harrah's New Orleans.
So good.
At a poker table. This guy, he won a bunch of money off another guy. The next day, the loser brings a musclehead to the game to take a run at the guy who won his money the night before.
That's amazing, by the way. Can I just say that?
How does that even occur to you? Like,
so, you have a bad session of poker. Man, I'm so tilted. I ran so bad. This guy beat me for all my money. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to hire a goon.
Yeah.
What year is this?
It's so weird. So this guy won apparently it was a 40K pot. 20. They each got 20 in the middle. I think it was a PLO game. And the night before. And
have you heard of running it twice? Maybe you should do that instead.
Especially if you're going to go hire a goon or something.
The rate on hiring a goon is pretty high from what I heard.
So this guy comes back the next day. They're all playing in the game, I guess. And this musclehead comes back. And
this dude is huge, if you've seen the video.
He's massive.
Yeah,
he's just this
yoked
giant muscle dude. Yeah. And somebody gets their... I guess they kind of knew something was going to happen because the guy whips out his phone.
And screaming, yeah.
Right. And so now the guy whips out his phone and starts recording it. The guy, musclehead, walks up to the table and just punches the guy as he's sitting at the table.
Did he punch? It wasn't that clear to me. Did he punch him? I thought he knocked his cap off or something.
Or he did something.
Yeah. And the other guy's pretty big, by the way. I don't have the.
He is a big guy. He's not as near as big as
but he looks like he's maybe 6'3", 200 or something. But the other dude is just gigantic.
So the guy who won all the money, he gets pushed or punched or whatever happens. He stands up and the other guy, musclehead, kind of moves away from the table. And I think maybe it was let's go outside or something. Who knows?
Right.
The guy who won the money sits back down at the table, and I think he says something like, "Go do some more steroids" or something, which was funny. And he sits back.
That is probably an accurate statement.
He goes to try and sit back down at the table and just kind of pretend like this guy's going away or something. Yeah. And the guy comes back.
He's trying to defuse it because he's not a...
He's playing poker.
He's not a caveman.
Right.
And so he's not going to just get in a fight. He showed a lot of restraint. The guy did. By the way, Jonathan Bloyen, the assault victim.
Oh, okay. So Jonathan tries to sit back down. Musclehead comes back and takes a punch at him. And gives him a swat. Now Jonathan's had enough of this. Stands up and they start throwing him. But the musclehead guy throws two of the worst punches you've ever seen. It's clear this musclehead guy never gets in fights because he's so big.
When you look like that, nobody wants to fight you.
Yeah, because he can't punch to save his life. It's hilarious how bad the punches are. And now they start wrestling, and the guy Jonathan gets him kind of on the ground, and is just
hammering,
feeding him rights, and it's just ugly. Like you going, oh, this guy's taking the worst of it. Then he flips him back over to he flips this 280-pound dude.
He's got two what we call underhooks. So basically his forearms are under his armpits, which is a good position to just
over his head.
Someone just dumps him,
lifts him up, throws him in the air onto the table, onto the poker table.
The chips are flying.
Everywhere.
God.
Jonathan's on the table, he's scrambling, and then he gets him in it's a half Nelson, right? He gets him in a half Nelson.
Yeah, he kind of puts a quarter Nelson on him or half Nelson, and just tries to control him onto the ground, and then he actually kind of lets him up. It seems.
So they get up, and then he just throws his head into the concrete wall.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is, and you hear that sound. You know that sound you hear when somebody's head hits something? It's like a jello sound.
Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of hear that. It just goes wham, and he throws this big musclehead guy into the wall.
Yeah.
And you're just like, holy, and then he starts feeding him more rights and lefts. And then meanwhile, there's a floor man standing right there, 4 feet away, going, security is on the way.
That was the best part. They go, security is on the way. You guys want me. It's like the equivalent of going, I'm calling mom and dad.
There's a UFC fight going on in front of this guy, and he's yelling, security's on the way.
There's absolute chaos.
And this, by the way, has taken a minute and a half. Where the F is security?
The video itself is 2 minutes long.
Where is security?
So, presumably, the guy started filming, like we said, started filming because people were yelling, or there's some instigation, and somebody's got the sense that this is going to happen. So we're talking about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
We're talking about at least 3 minutes that I'm aware of.
If you steal a $5 chip at a roulette table, you're in seconds. You will be out the door.
Yeah.
But
I
not
thought
here.
Casino security have all this planned out. It takes us 25 seconds to get anywhere in the casino.
Apparently not at Harrah's New Orleans. That does not happen.
Not if we're actually going to have to use...
I'm also curious to see, too, security break up 2 guys of this size. because that's like 500 pounds of dude in there.
Right. You're gonna need some big.
You're gonna need some security, and one of them, like I said, Jonathan, like he knows how to. I wouldn't be surprised if he wrestled in high school. Like the moves he was pulling out, that's wrestling. That's because usually if you're gonna give up 60 pounds like that, two unskilled guys, the small guy giving up 60 pounds is probably gonna lose.
You don't ever want to be attacking the guy trying to defuse the situation, right? I mean, isn't that usually the guy I mean, it's usually the guys who are not very good.
Hold me back. That guy can't fight.
Yeah, the guy who's trying to say, look, we don't need to do this.
Don't be an idiot. I've had two situations where people trying to challenge me.
I remember one at a hockey game.
Oh, okay.
Remember that one?
No, I was talking about specifically at a poker table.
I thought you meant in general.
No. I've had two situations at the poker table where somebody has tried to fight me. One was a long time ago. It was at the UB event in Aruba.
I remember that one, yeah.
And this is actually a decently well-known player, so I won't say his name.
Why not?
Since I'm not.
Who cares?
He's made a main event final table, so I'll narrow it to that.
Why who cares?
I'm not going to say.
No,
because he was.
Casey would never fight a fly. He's too nice of a guy.
Yeah, but anyway, I actually.
I need to know what this is.
We got it all in. I had middle set and he had top set, and I binked the quads. And
he decided that was reason enough to fight you?
And what he said was, so he stews about it, and I'm like, well, it's a pretty bad beat. I'm just going to let him stew. It's not a big deal.
You get a free couple comments.
You get a free few comments. Starts to say, Z Justin actually comes over. Justin Bonemo, who nobody knows at this time, comes over to this guy and says, "How's it going?" It's like, "Oh, I was up whatever, and now I'm only up whatever because this cocksucker one-outed me." And I let that one slide.
That one's going.
I let that one slide, and then he drops another cocksucker, and I'm like, "You need to stop calling me a cocksucker."
You got two,
and he immediately stands up and says, "What are you going to do about it?"
Wow!
And I just look at him and say, "Just sit down and play the next hand."
Fuck.
The other time, so there was no fight. I've never actually been in a fight that wasn't involving voluntary. I've never been in a street fight or anything like that. The other time was in Down Under in Australia at the. I don't remember if it was the Crown or the one in Sydney, Star City. I want to say it was in Sydney, where we were playing a high roller event, like a 10K, 15K or something like that. Fold small blind versus big blind. I'm on the button and I actually open fold on the button. Small blind completes.
You only got one card.
Yeah, right. the blinds check it down all the way, and they're friends. And the board is king high, just garbage. First guy turns over 2 jacks. The other guy turns over ace king.
What?
So clearly a lot of money should have gone in pre-flop when the 2 blinds have jacks and ace king. And this is a high roller event with people who know what they're doing. And I'm like, floor, I think there was some soft playing here. And the guy immediately starts getting really defensive. And I said, like, listen, there's no way this hand was reasonably played. You guys had huge hands. This guy made top pair, checked it back on the river.
Yeah.
Like blind versus blind. The board is like, a king 9, 7, 5 deuce or whatever rainbow. Like, it's absurd. Nobody here thinks that you guys didn't soft play each other. And he does the whole, do you want to take it outside? And I can't believe what causes people to challenge people to physical fights over things that involve cards and randomness. Right. This is not a thing.
What happened with the guys, by the way? Did they get any kind of penalty?
No, neither guy got it. One was first one was a cash game, so I mean, and it's Aruba, so what's going to happen? Second guy got like a warning from the floor man.
Brutal.
It was pretty lame.
I've had this poker fight drop on the back burner for months.
And it was like a slap reslap.
That's good.
That's pretty good.
I like that.
That does not describe the fight that we wanted us on YouTube.
You've never been in a street fight?
I've never. I've never.
What about the one at the? Remember the hockey game? When we were at a game,
I don't remember what we're talking
you about. I remember you had your rip. I don't know why I remember this. You had your ripping jersey on, and some guy was throwing shit at you or something.
In St. Louis, like a lot of people tried to start fights with me in St. Louis. There's a couple of people shoved me.
This was here. This was you and I. Where were we? We were somewhere. I can't remember.
Anyway. I've never thrown.
Didn't you have a Boston story?
Oh, I do. Yeah. That was.
Or you weren't in Boston?
He was there.
No,
but Terrence was funny. So we go. The Canucks make the playoffs. For those, we probably told this. I don't know if we've told it.
I don't think you have. I've never
Stanley Cup Finals.
Canucks make the Stanley Cup Finals 2010, and we're playing the Boston Bruins. 2011. Sorry, we're playing the Bruins. We go to game 1 and 2 here in Vancouver, and of course we being the fans that we are, we win both games here. But we also fly to Boston to go to game 3 and 4.
Yep.
And there's Scott Wilson. Is Scott with us? I don't know who's with us.
No, your brother was there.
My brother, Scotty Fogg was there. Anyway, there's like 10 of us at this, but we're all spread around the Boston Garden because we can't get all seats together.
Yeah. It's Stanley Cup Finals.
I got absolutely abused from the beginning to the end. You got to sit next to Steve Nash.
Yeah, that was
ridiculous.
Cool.
So you're not going to get abused sitting next to Nash.
No.
There's no beers getting thrown at you. Yeah. I am getting beers poured on me. My seat, so what happens is I got beer poured on me. Plus, I come down to my seat, and the guy in the seat right behind me, I'm on the aisle. As he sees me coming, he puts my seat. He leans down, puts my seat, and pours his beer on my seat. And I mean, this is just that part of whatever. I don't even care about that. But walking around,
there's all these people out there saying like it's a waste of beer too.
Yeah, and walking around the concourse in between periods, you get pushed nonstop.
Yeah, that happens a lot. People kind of just like shoulder check you and pretend
all kinds
like
of
they didn't mean it.
Ridiculous slurs. Yeah,
I've always find the women are the worst. By the way, like the women, will get up in your face because they know you won't physically assault them.
And then they also have the home team behind them,
and they get behind the man, right? They force.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. Even if they're by themselves, they know that you'll never hit a girl, or like 30 dudes will just swarm on you. But
they're free rolling.
Yeah.
So then we end up getting slaughtered in one of the games. I can't remember which it was, 3 or 4. I think it was 4. We lose like 8-2 or something ridiculous. Yeah. Well, I'm walking out, and all of us are walking out of the Garden. And it's crazy. Like the Boston fans they're going mental, screaming, yelling. Anytime they see a Canuck, and we got our jerseys on. Mm-hmm. Anytime they see somebody in a Canuck jersey, there's a circle of like 5 or 6 people deep around this guy, heckling him, pushing, whatever. This one guy throws me up against the fence, and he's got me in the fence. He's got me like off the ground.
Wow,
he's got
a strong dude.
He's a big dude, and his girl jumps in and gets between us. Wow. Otherwise, I mean, I think because I'm at the end, you guys had already,
and it's so ridiculous because if you've ever like hung out with Adam, he's not Adam's not like an obnoxious your face guy. And we just finished getting our asses kicked,
right?
Like, it's not like
we're realistic about
it.
We
didn't even win the game.
Yeah,
it's
I'm not like yelling Bruins suck or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Like now, MJ, I could see that happening.
MJ can get it,
or your brother or something like that. But your brother can take care of himself.
Yeah. So and then we're walking, and we somehow find each other. I get saved by his girl. We end up finding each other, and we all take our jerseys off, and Terrence has got his on, and we're like, Terrence, take your jersey off.
Because my experience was fine, and you guys were all yelling at me. You got to take your jersey off.
We're going to take your jersey. He goes, no.
If I take the jersey off, the terrorists will have won.
That's what you said. You're like, no, I'm not taking the jersey. We're like, oh fuck, and we walk like 3 blocks away and just hope that nothing happens to us. That was that's my Boston story. Great fans of the Boston Bruins. Let's take a break here. We're going to come right back. We've got CrushLivePoker.com is our strategy sponsor for this fine program that you're listening to, run by Bart Hansen, who's actually going to be on the show next week. Bart Hansen is going to be our guest next week. He's going to talk about.
He's in Macau right now.
That he is.
Live poker.
I think he teaches. I think he does some teaching.
I think he coaches the wealthy guys.
Wow, we'll get some stories on that. But he's also going to talk about the upcoming World Series of Poker. This week he has given us a strategy segment to our fine listeners get a strategy tip that you would normally have to pay much money for.
Much money. It's not that much money to subscribe to CLP.
No, I mean if you're flying over to Macau.
Oh yeah, compared to those guys. So there's like 3 tiers. There's the listen to the Pokercast tier, which is free. There's the Crush Live Poker tier, which costs a little bit of money, and then there's the fly him to Macau, which is slightly more.
But what is the subject of the strategy segment this week?
It's one of my favorite moves in the game.
This is your move?
It's the limp re-raise.
The stop short? Oh, the limp re-raise.
Yeah.
You're going to do this with
I hope this is
a wide range or just aces only? Hopefully you do this
Depends
with more
on the
than
table.
Just the 2 ones.
You got to merge that range.
I guess we're going to have to listen to the strategy.
We are. All right, here it is. Right after the break, we're going to come back and we're going to talk to a couple of people. We're going to talk to Doug Polk about his challenge against the computer. We're going to talk to Joe Tall, who is going to give us an update on the FTP remissions and how that's all going, and more. Lots of emails, lots of forums, shout-outs, etc. to get to in the third segment. Brian Slick is going to join us from PokerStars to talk about the scoop. You are listening to the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. More right after this.
Hey everybody, welcome to another 2+2 Strategy Minute brought to you by CrushLivePoker.com. I'm Bart Hansen, and today I want to talk about a concept that I really despise. Limp re-raising. Part of the reason why I hate limp re-raising so much is because people that implement limp re-raising on a frequent basis normally do not know how to play post-flop, or they're scared of playing post-flop. So they want to take a line that basically forces all of their opponents to fold pre-flop. Hence, they limp in with aces, kings, queens, sometimes ace-king from up front, hope to get someone to raise, and then they can limp re-raise. And then they'll either get it all in, or they don't have to face any type of play post-flop. This approach is very, very bad for a number of reasons. The most important being that you lose a ton of value from your good hands. You don't get to get a guy in there with a hand like King Jack against your aces and go for multiple streets against top pair. You don't force your opponents to make post-flop mistakes. There are some times when limp re-raising is okay, obviously, when you're dealing with an aggressive opponent that just continues to raise, especially if they're playing that out of the straddle. But the other kind of sneaky time you can limp re-raise where it's effective is actually doing it as an over-limp from late position, where several people have limped in and you over-limped, say, like in the cutoff or in the hijack with a big hand against an aggressive button, or maybe somebody who's aggressive, like out of the blinds. That can really, really confuse people because they would have thought that why would you ever over-limp with a strong hand? You know, there was no guarantee that anyone was going to raise. But for the most part, people implementing the limp re-raise from up front are just playing scared.
Hey folks, don't forget to stay connected with the PokerCast gang between shows. There's a dedicated forum on 2plus2.com where you can discuss the most recent show, request a guest, suggest topics, or just chat about bacon and titties. The PokerCast forum on 2+2. Picks or get the F out. Hey, poker fans, don't forget about the 2plus2.com digital magazine. Each month, a wide array of poker professionals and media write fascinating articles about the game you love. Want to learn about big blind versus small blind hand ranges? How about optimal Jeopardy daily double strategy? Topics like those and many others are covered every month. Head on over to 2plus2.com to see what the magazine has to offer this month.
Hey, it's Mike from the 2plus2 store and professionalpoker.com. 2plus2 is pleased to announce the release of their most anticipated book in ages, Applications of No Limit Hold'em, a guide to understanding theoretical sound poker by Matthew Jonda. This book will give you the ability to create the bet sizings and ranges which will beat the better players. The theory in this book is not designed to be complex or abstract, but rather it's intended to be applied immediately, producing better overall results. Many confusing concepts, such as overbetting, balancing multiple bet sizing ranges, donk betting, and check raising as a pre-flop raiser, are crucial to a player's strategy, despite few players implementing them or talking about them. And after reading this book, you should be able to not only conceptually understand these ideas, but also know how to begin incorporating them into your game, and thereby successfully compete against tough opponents. At the 2plus2 store, we accept all credit cards, plus PayPal and NetTeller.
At the 800 table, UTG min raises to 8K with 32 big blind effective. Cutoff calls with 70 big blinds, and I call with 10-9 of spades on the button with a stack of 400K. Both blinds fold. Flop comes Jack 8-6 rainbow with 1 spade. UTG bets 14K, cutoff calls, and I overcall. The turn is the ace of spade, giving me a flush draw. UTG keeps on betting, 32K this time. Cutoff calls again, and I raise to 90K. After tanking for a few minutes, UTG lets it go. Cutoff takes even longer before folding too.
Team Pro Online's Marc-Andre French Dog Ladouceur is a Supernova Elite VIP. This is the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club.
Hey guys, this is Bart Hansen for CrushLivePoker.com. Whether you're a recreational player who wants to compete at the tables, or you're a professional and you want to increase your win rate, the material that I've produced at crushlivepoker.com will make you a better poker player. Act now and you can subscribe for free by using the coupon code TPC11. That's TPC for the Pokercast 11 and get your first month free.
Presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. So, Terrence, we had this man on the program a couple of weeks ago. He was right in the middle of his challenge with the Carnegie Mellon
I'll try
University.
not to insult him this week, eh?
Yeah, that was a good idea. He is, of course, Doug Polk. He was in the middle of his challenge. The challenge is now over. And, Doug, when we talked to you a couple weeks ago, you were right in the middle of it. You got a pretty big win in the first half. It didn't go so well individually for you in the second half. Any thoughts on why that was?
Yeah, sure. Well, first off, actually, let me say thank you for having me back on the Pokercast. Always good to be on here. And I know you guys love to hear my beautiful voice. So
we do.
Everyone wins. Except Claudico. No, but anyway. So the second half of the challenge was, it was pretty tough for me. And basically, I think when we originally went over the terms, when we were figuring out, you know, how many hands a day is reasonable, maybe me and Professor Sandholm weren't quite seeing eye to eye, because I think I had a little bit of a different anticipation as to what a hand was going to be like. As an example, when I play online, I've definitely had some days where I grinded a ton of hands and played like 3 or 4 or 5,000 hands if I, really sat down and played the whole day. But my sample, I guess, was thinking about 4-tabling. It was thinking about playing someone that's playing really fast. It's thinking about, if you're 12 hours in, both you and the other guy are kind of, at this point, you're just like, you know what, I really don't give a shit anymore. Let's put in the raise. You don't yeah. You're not gonna sit there like, okay, well, I'm 12.4 hours into my session, and he's bet the river. Okay, so let's think about this. I have these hands. You're not gonna sit there and just go through that process, right? But of course, being that this is a computer, it's going to do that every single time on the river. So I think like 1,500 hands in my mind was really more like, let's just say like 600, 700, or 800 in actuality. And the way that it was phrased originally was it can take up to 30 seconds on the river to tank, but is usually much faster. So I guess like I didn't really think about that. Like when it says up to, I assumed it would mainly be fast, but maybe they were just safeguarding in case, it had to take a little while. And then the average, I'm not sure what the entire challenge average was, but let's just call it 20 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So I was doing some math earlier on this, and I'll just double check it really quick. So let's say there's 20 seconds on the river, and I played 20,000 hands. Let's say that like 8,000 got to the river. We'll call it even 7,000 got to the river. So that's 140,000 seconds that I had to wait on the river in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Which is, 2.3 thousand minutes, which is about 40 hours.
Wow.
So I spent about a full work week waiting on the river. So that definitely played a role, and there were some days where it was variable. We talked afterwards, and there was one session, and this is great. I'm sure Dong loved this, but they accidentally turned it off for 3 of us, but they forgot. Actually, they messed up on us 3, but they had it on correctly for Dong. So there was a session where we're all like, "Oh man, this is so fast! We're just blazing through like every new position this instant." And Dong is like, "Guys, it is not faster." And we're like, Dong, like, come on, man, you're
Stop
just
bitching.
like you can't. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, as far as the second week of the challenge goes, by the time we'd hit about week 2, I'd sort of hit the wall. I realized that this was probably a lot more than I kind of bit off more than I could chew, as far as how many hours day to day it was taking me. And when you also consider the stakes that I'm normally playing compared to what I guess you want to call the hypothetical stakes of this are, it just started to become like, okay, so I'm getting paid $200 an hour, not that that's in any way bad, but I'm getting paid $200 an hour versus what my hourly of actually playing poker is, and I have to be playing for 7, 8, 9 hours a day at the casino on a computer, and it's not like playing where you're having a couple drinks and hanging out with some friends. We're talking about like it's me and a computer, and I'm not allowed to go on the internet, and I'm playing versus a robot.
Yeah.
So like fatigue started to set in, and with about 3 days left, there was one day where I just got there and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do stuff today, and I was just raising and re-raising, and I played some probably way too big of pots with hands like 10-3 off, but yeah, fatigue definitely showed or reared its ugly head there, and it was a bit tough down the stretch.
Well, they missed that part in their press release when they claimed it was physical tie. It sounds like you would have been able to win even more, and I'm sure if the fatigue was a factor for you, it would have been a factor for the other three gentlemen as well. I want to talk a little bit about those river decisions. So you said it was an average of about 20 seconds. Now, when you're playing against a human, the river decisions tend to, the distribution looks different. Sometimes people will just snap fold if they decide, if obviously if you shove and they've missed, they're just going to snap fold. They're not going to Hollywood. And then other times they're going to take much longer than 30 seconds if they're thinking about a really tough call. So was it a matter of, do you think the average river decision by Claudico actually took a lot longer, or do you think it was just because the distribution looks so different from a human's, where sometimes a human acts fast and sometimes it acts slowly?
Well, that's a great question, and the thing that makes this almost the exact opposite of how humans play is that the way that it works is when it gets to the river, it has some kind of end game solver, right? Where it runs out all the possibilities for all the different sizes and what size it should use with what, and et cetera, et cetera. So the funny thing, and you would not think it is like this by just looking at it, but if the pot is really big, it takes very short periods of time. Because the game tree is small. If you bet, you go all in. If you check, you check. And if you check and he jams, you either call or you fold, right? So it can compute larger spots. And I'm not saying that it was raise or super fast on every river. But, in a big pot, when it gets to the river, it's much more simple as to what it has to do as far as where it's playing all of its hands. The ones that really took a long time is if it went open call, and then we check down to the river, and I check to him, right? Which is like, you'd think that would be the simple one, right? But now we're thinking about the pot is like 5 big blinds or 4 big blinds or 6 big blinds or whatever someone decided to raise to. And now it has to map out, okay, well, if I bet and he raises, what am I going to re-raise with? And then if he comes in over the top, what percentage of hands do what? Where do those go? What if he makes it this size? What if he makes it that size? Should I re-raise this? Should I just go all in? And then it has to map out all of the different sizes across all the different counter strategies. So basically, the smaller the pot is, oftentimes, if not all the time, it would be a lot longer of a process. With humans, it's the exact opposite. When we play small pot, we're like, check, 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 check. Okay, who gives a fuck? Let's just check it back. It's real quick. It's like you just run it right through. But with this, when it gets to the big pots, it's instant. And with people, when we play big pots, it's serious business. I'm about to go all in. This is a big pot. This deserves at least 10 seconds of them waiting for me. So it was very different, and the average was certainly much higher.
Yeah. Well, plus if you check it down, it goes open, call, check, 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 check. The range, it probably has to compute ranges. And your range is so much wider because it has less information to define a range, right? And then it's got this thing where it's got, if it's 5 big blinds and it's got 17,000 or 18, whatever it is, 18, 19,000 behind, it's got all these different amounts that it can bet, all the way up to all in, even just the five big blind bet. And a lot of times it did. It would bet 17, 18,000 into a 1K pot, right?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. And that's actually a good point that I hadn't thought of before. Your range probably is much wider because it is less defined. So yeah, I would agree with that completely.
Bjorn's results were really good, and I wanted to get your take on, did you guys talk at night or about what Bjorn was doing, or what do you think Bjorn did well? I mean, did he have he was less distracted or something like that?
Well, Bjorn took a different approach right out of the gate than I think we all did. And his approach was more, let's just put this computer into some big spots and try and make it, mess up. And that worked really well. We took like some smaller approaches. Like I tried to do lots of betting the minimum in lots of spots and trying to see the way that it would adjust to like lots of kind of simple and small things. Whereas Bjorn sort of like swung for the fences a lot. And in retrospect, Bjorn did a lot of things that I think worked out really well. But it's different because when we're talking about playing the computer versus playing people, when you're playing versus the computer, it doesn't really care what you do. It doesn't really work like that. A lot of people were kind of confused. They were wondering, oh, so it plays you and it kind of knows what you're up to, and that's not really what it's doing. It's just, all it does is, this is its game theoretical approach, and it does this thing, right? And then as the time goes on, it runs, it plays out all the scenarios itself and kind of determines what's good and what's bad. So we didn't really know out of the gate what type of things were going to be effective, and Bjorn did a lot of really aggressive stuff that worked out really well for him.
Yeah, he did. It seemed like he did in the best. And on the other side of the coin, we had who ended up being down. I can't remember who it was.
Jason Less, I think.
Oh, Jason Less ended up being down a little bit. Was there some things maybe that Jason had trouble with that some of the other guys didn't?
Yeah, I think Jason out of the gate probably, and I gotta stop saying out of the gate, I've said that like 3 times now. But anyway, at the start of the challenge, he was taking it a bit too serious, like this is a person, and we gotta do this, and we gotta do these things, and we gotta like always have our good hands here, and then we gotta trap him in these spots, when really, you could kind of do just about whatevs as far as where you wanted to put your good hands. I'm serious though, like, for example, let's say that you're playing a person, right? And just like a super simple example. And every time you check twice to him, if you check the third time, you never have a good hand, and he bets, and you just decide you're going to go all in there. That's a pretty horrible move if they're all paying attention to what you're doing,
right?
Because you only have bluffs. But versus Claudico, you could definitely do that, and it would call you just the same as if you had hands there, because it would just assume you do. So there was a lot of different sizes that you could go, and you could get as creative as really you goddamn felt like it. And you could just really like throw in a little bit of this, throw in a little min 3-betting, throw in a little 2.5x 3-bet. How about an 8x 3-bet? I'm feeling it. You could just kind of go for whatever, and it was never like it analyzed every 3-bet that Bjorn made and was like, oh wow, the small sizes don't have aces. Like it didn't work like that. It was just playing a strategy as if your strategy was balanced, and that really opened up the door for us to find a lot of those adjustments that were good. And Bjorn just got on top of that a lot quicker than we did, and he definitely deserved to win the most.
You were quoted, I think, and I'm not sure if this was right, and I can't remember if we talked about it. I think we did briefly. You said the bot was like a 4 out of 10 when you were talking to the professor. Did you still rate it sort of in that range?
So that question, that quote actually comes from a question that you sort of need to start off with in order for it to have the correct context. The question that was asked to me was, Doug, compared to your average opponent, what would you rate the bot on a scale of 1 to 10?
Right.
So that's a very different question than 1 to 10, Doug, what's up? It's a much different question. So when I said I would stand by about a 4 on the scale of people that I play, I think that was correct. But on the scale of all players, the bot still made a lot of good, or still had a lot of good strategies. It still had some very strong, balanced strategies, and especially if you didn't know you were coming in playing a bot, like let's just say that you thought it was a person, it would probably take you a lot longer to come up with some of the counters because you wouldn't know that it doesn't really care what you're doing.
So let me phrase that question that was asked by, I'm going to assume, a non-poker person into a poker context that maybe people can understand. Let's say they were going to enter this bot into the 10K heads-up event at the World Series this year. What would you buy this bot's action? What would you buy Claudico's action for if it's a 10K buy-in?
Well, being that tournament is under 100 BBs and shrinks rapidly, and Claudico can only play at 200 big blinds, you'd probably have to give me quite the premium.
Yeah, okay. But let's say we modeled the format so that it was always going to play 200 BB freeze-outs against the people who enter that field, typically.
Sure, that's fine. I think it would be a slight dog versus the field. I don't think it would be winning in the field, but I also think that it wouldn't have nearly as many matchups where it's going to get clobbered, you know? Like, there might be a player that's just in the middle of the pack, but if he plays the worst player, he'll just destroy him. And if he plays the best player, or me, whatever you want to say, then he'll just get completely run over. So there's a lot more disparity there, whereas if you put Claudico in, it would have a much more sort of similar result through the stakes, and maybe not even necessarily linear with who is better. It could be that one of the top 10 players does a lot worse than a middle of the tier player. So I said originally when I came into this, people were like, who's going to win? You or the machine? Who's got the edge? And I just kept saying, I think us, but how do you want me to say anything? Like, I'm not at the university. I don't know how it plays. I don't have any information. Do you want me to just guess? Sure, we'll win, whatever. But when you look at the way that it plays and how those skill sets transfer into just playing versus a large field of random people, it's kind of hard to really say where it would fall.
I want to get your impression of a quote that was tweeted out by the Carnegie Mellon University Twitter account, and it was after the competition. I believe you gave a speech about some of the pros and cons of the program, and the person in charge of the Twitter account summarized or characterized in your speech that you said something to the effect of, Doug Polk maintains the bot's win rate was impressive when it actually lost 9 bigs per 100. So I want to get your take on what you said and how they interpreted it.
That was pretty great for me because I had just finished my speech at the press conference. I was like, okay, I thought I did a pretty good job. I thought that I did a fairly fair review of everything and tried to mention everybody. And then I go on Twitter and one new update. Look, Doug Polk maintains win rate impressive. I'm like, wait, what? That's what you took away from this? And I immediately notified the guys that are behind Claudico, and they also said that wasn't really what they should have said. And I tweeted at them and I said, the result's impressive enough for AI to have come this far. You don't really need to embellish it. You don't need to make this even greater than it was, because if you'd listened to what I said, I didn't say anything negative. I said I thought that overall it was quite balanced and it had some problems, and I listed sort of both. So it was a fair review, and 9 big blinds per 100. I think under better conditions we could certainly do a lot better than that versus this version. But anyway, even regardless of that, that's still a reasonable amount to lose. That's not being completely outclassed. That means, yeah, you've been making some mistakes and there's some spots you've probably been misplaying, but overall, you're at least in the ballpark. You're playing sort of close to where the top players are playing, and this is against some of the top people. So I don't think that needed to be pushed even further, and then directly misquoted on what I said was really appropriate. And one other thing as well that sort of rubbed me the wrong way, and I didn't like that this started to immediately become the headline that was being pushed, at least from what I heard around me, but in match with 170 million in bets, humans win by mere 700K. And that just says to me, like, whoever does that?
Yeah, it means it shows you don't understand poker. It's. I made the analogy earlier to, let's say, a basketball team wins by 25 points, but then you decide to measure it. Instead of by how many points per possession or something like that. 25 points isn't that many when you consider how many
statistically irrelevant
possessions there are in a basketball game. I think you're absolutely right about it, and I think you've been really classy about it. I also tweeted out. I said that, like, you're taking away from such a great accomplishment by claiming a tie when you guys clearly lost, when you guys could just say, okay, well, we lost, we'll come back better next time, and I think 2 years from now we'll beat the humans. But did you get a sense of whether it was a Twitter account or whether it was Mr. Sandholm who do they just not understand what they're saying, or do you get the sense that they're trying to defend themselves? That
they're funding.
They're worried about their funding or their careers or their reputations, or was it just like a mistake and they actually think that this is how poker should be measured?
Well, that really needs to be prefaced with the conversation of what really is a quote unquote statistical tie, because that term is it's misleading, but people need to be aware of what the definition is. Statistical tie does not mean tie. It's not the same thing. They're using it has the word tie in it, but when they use the word statistical in front of it, they're talking about at what % confidence it is. Yeah, and there was a great the p-value, and there was a great post in the 2+2 thread where someone posted the World Cup from last year, and it says Germany defeats Brazil in shocking 7-1 upset. And then the bottom left corner had like an excerpt and had Professor Sandholm's face, and like CMU's Professor Sandholm claims statistical tie, with like his face. It's just an amazing post. And I don't know who did it, but it was just outstanding. I just died laughing when I saw that. But those really aren't the same thing. Those are two different things. And the thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way about this is that I didn't know that we were playing for statistical significance at the 95% confidence. I didn't know that we were playing for that until a day or two to go. They're like, "Oh, we're not the confidence," and I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about." And then they're like, "Oh, it was in the print on this other thing." And like, I had no idea we were playing for that. I had no idea that mattered. All I knew is that I was coming here to try and play poker and win money and try and beat a machine, right?
And what was the confidence interval? Was it like a 2 standard deviation win? Like, what are we talking about here?
I think we were at 92 and we needed 95.
Okay, so 2 standard deviations is 95. Okay, but they just kind of sprung this on you while you're playing.
Yeah, and the thing was, it felt like it was gearing up for the headlines, right? Because with 2 days to go, all I'm seeing is like the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm like, am I going to make it there?
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to get there, and they start talking about the statistical tie and all that stuff. When I first heard that, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm sure. And I actually said this to the CMU guys. I said, do you think that if Claudico won here, even by, let's just say, 100,000, the headline from you guys is going to be statistical tie?
Right.
And I'm like, there's just no way. And then at least some people seem to think that would be the title, and it's science, and I understand that under the the technical terms, that sure, this is a statistical tie under what they wanted, whatever they have set as the guidelines for what determines when something has the statistical merit to be a true win, or whatever they use, whatever the terms are. I'm not a scientist, man. I play poker, but. This was a good point brought up by Ike in the forums, but what was the percentage that there would even have been a statistically significant result?
Right.
Like, how often can that even happen if we're only going to play 80,000 hands?
Yeah, and his using the 150 million as this calculation number also showed me that they don't really have a great grasp of how poker is played, because like I was saying earlier in the when we were talking about it, if there's a 5 big blind pot and it bets 17,000 on the river, they're counting that 17,000.
Yeah, which is completely ridiculous. How is that shove going to be calculated in any total to measure anything about results?
Yeah, it's uncalled.
Right?
It's uncalled. It's silly to even count that in the number. And then so they use this big number, and we can use this total bets number as part of the calculation. It's going to come out to statistically relevant. They don't once say it lost 9 big blinds per 100, which is a typical way you measure it.
And I want to say too that you might think that the three of us are people out there listening might think the three of us are dwelling
bitter or whatever.
I think this has real relevance because I've been seeing in the mainstream media, all these references to tie, meaning, this bot plays just as good as the best no-limit hold'em players in the world, when that simply isn't the case. And I think that has real-world implications for what people do, whether they choose to play online poker or all this kind of things, whether they think that poker is a solved game, whether they think it's like chess and you can't possibly all of this kind of stuff. I do think it's relevant.
It becomes relevant.
And I'm glad you're kind of out there, Doug, talking about this and making your point clear. I think it's really unfortunate that the Twitter account at CMU hasn't kind of responded to you after you said that you expressed your unhappiness. I'm going to read your tweet out loud just for everybody to see it. You wrote, at SCSatCMU, I'm unhappy with the phrasing of your post. The truth is enough positive reinforcement without embellishment.
Yeah, and actually, to be totally fair to them, they did delete one of the tweets, but then there's still the one about total bets wagered, and it's sort of a losing battle. There was a reporter that had a great quote that I'm going to not say which reporter it was, but one of the news outlets, he talked with the professor for a while, talked with me for a while, and then everyone was kind of leaving, and it was just me and him. And he was like, I think, let's say you had a backer, and, you lost him $1 million. I'm sure he'd be cool if you told him it was a statistical tie.
I'm going to bust that one out all world.
It's going to be a poker meme forever. He beat me, but it was a statistical tie. I don't know what you're talking about. I want to ask you about your environment, the casino there that you played the tournament at. It seemed like it was a difficult situation. We get ding, 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 everything going on around you. Talk a little bit about the casino and how that played a role in the challenge.
Sure. So the challenge was played at the Rivers Casino in Pittsburgh, and the setup was they had 2 players downstairs on kind of like the casino floor, and then they had 2 players upstairs in what I refer to as the isolation chamber. And that is a fitting name because you were not allowed to be anywhere on the property without a security guard. And other people weren't really allowed to come visit you in that room. So it was basically just you and like whatever security guard was in there hanging out with you, right? So that was it. It was quiet. You could focus, but I'm not really sure that room was for me. I think some of the guys liked that room because it was quiet and there wasn't many distractions. But downstairs was just like, it was an open area. Like, I'm playing on a screen, and then whoever's next to me, whether it was Dong or Bjorn, they're playing on a screen. And there was all kinds of just great moments. Like, some guy walks up and he's like, yeah, I'm here to register. This is the blackjack tournament, right?
Sit down.
And he just says this to the CMU team, and they're like, oh no, this is the Brains vs. AI. And he's like, yeah, the blackjack tournament.
Yeah, that's it. There's no idea.
And we're like just all kind of laughing. But I liked being downstairs because I got to kind of interact with the people, and like there was lots of like great moments where I got to chat with some like whoever came around to just watch the screen. This one little old lady came over, and she was asking me lots of random questions like, oh, so you're ace king over here, all kinds of stuff. And I was like, so who's your favorite poker player? And she was like, well, and I was like,
yeah,
and she's like, oh, Doug Polk. And I was like, yeah, there you go. So like, it was, for me, that was kind of more my speed. That was more where I wanted to be. But I definitely wanted to say thanks to Rivers Casino because we sort of had some occasional issues where I didn't think about this before the challenge, but we had some issues where, let's say that I have a discrepancy with CMU, right? So, like, I think that, and there was only a few small things, but I think this, they think that. Rivers sort of always acted as, to at least some small extent, like arbitrators within that. And they were always helpful, and they always tried to make sure that things were going okay. And they really, I could tell there was this one day where it was just taking forever on the river, It was taking like half a minute per decision, and like we were all just just like, I just couldn't play like that. And Rivers was like, you know what, we'll talk to them, like, don't play until we do, like, we got this. And I just really wanted to say thanks to Rivers Casino, because they just did such a great job of hosting the event, and they really did help the whole process move along.
How many times in the 2 weeks did you ask, or did you get asked, what's the biggest pot you've ever won?
I actually didn't really get that question too much. I'm not entirely sure most people knew it was poker.
Okay.
I think there was a lot that did, but there was definitely a lot that didn't. Or if they were watching, the user interface was sort of bad to watch. It was really hard. I'm sure you ever check out the Twitch stream?
We did, yeah.
Okay, so basically the way that it works is there's one chip out there. When you raise, it just changes the value of that chip. That's a really hard way to watch.
Yeah.
Because it's not really visually stimulating, and it's kind of hard to tell what's happened. Like, it was always impressive to me when someone would come over and they would be like, "Oh, you got ace jack! Oh, that's the flop! Nice, you got him here!" Like, that was always really impressive that they could even follow along. I remember this one middle-aged woman. She came and she sat right near the screen, and she was getting real into it, right? And there was this flop where I bet and he check raised, and she's like, "He's bluffing you again! He doesn't have anything!" She's just like yelling in, and then like I call the flop. It barrels the turn. She's like, "No, he doesn't have it." I call the turn. It checks down. He's got nothing, and she's like, "See, I told you."
That's awesome.
And I was like, "All right, maybe you got to come over here and start playing for me because I could use a break."
How did you guys got $100,000 for the four of you? You didn't win real money. You were paid basically an appearance fee to come and spend 2 weeks there. How did you guys break down the 100? Was it 25 each, or did you gamble?
So we decided that the best way to incentivize good play was to base it on results. So it was on a shifting scale where last place got 10K, and then however many more chips you got than last place, you got a percentage of the entire prize pool.
Oh, nice.
So I think by the end of it, I can't remember the exact number. I think Bjorn got like 45, I got like 26, Don got like 17 or 18, and Jason got 10.
Nice. Good. I think Ross has got a question or two before we let you go.
Oh, yeah. I was just wondering about Scoop. I know you don't always get high-stakes heads-up action anymore. Are you going to play the high-roller heads-up?
Yeah, for sure. I've played that basically every Scoop for the last few years, I think. It's always fun. Like, it's good to see the bracket and, like, have some sweats and have some anti-sweats. I think it's a lot of fun.
Sweet.
Doug, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate your honesty looking back on the challenge. And good luck in Scoop, and we'll talk to you soon, sir.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks to Doug Polk for joining us and give us a recap of the challenge.
Of the statistical tie.
Of the statistical tie.
We forgot to congratulate him on tying.
Yeah. And more to that, there was a statistical tie last year in the Super Bowl. The Patriots may have won, but it wasn't within enough confidence to actually call it a win. So I'm going to call that a statistical tie, too. I'm a Seahawks fan, so... we did not lose. But we're going to bring in our old buddy, Mr. Joe Tall. He's going to talk to us about Full Tilt Poker and the update on the Garden City Group, the remissions process. He's been in the middle of this for a long time. We haven't talked about it for a while. Joe, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, before we get to that, I wanted to get
what do you want to talk about? Tom Brady and how he's going to win his appeal?
I want to talk about Tom Brady and my condolences.
What do you mean?
I'm going to say congratulations. He only got a 4-game suspension. It should have been much longer than that.
Well, it'll be much shorter in the end, so don't worry about it.
No, indeed.
Okay, we don't want to go here.
No. This will be an hour-long podcast if we get you talking on this, I know.
Yeah, so, you should see my Facebook with my brother and my friends and then, like, all my poker friends in there. Oh, my God, it's, like, the worst. Like, my brother's just like, you think I was a troll? All the way I post my brother, like, I learned all my skills from him. He's just in there, like, Stinky Pete and Poker Bob and, like, all these Facebook friends are all in there talking about Tom Brady. You know, I post a thing about how, Ray Rice got 2 games for this video and
so that's
Tom got 4 for this and
deflection strategy.
People have said that, but honestly, it's this. I'm going to say this really fast because this will be an hour, right? And it's simple as this. That's an NFL decision, one with evidence and one without. And it's simple as that.
All right.
And that's the correlation.
Okay. Fair enough.
You got to give me that.
I give you that. You got that.
Okay, so
I want to tell. Yeah, let's talk about. You and I were talking this week on Skype about your ongoing issues with the Garden City Group. This is the people that were in charge of doing the remissions for Full Tilt Poker when they went under Black Friday. It took a long time to get to them to the point of actually starting payouts, but that wasn't just the thing. That was for the undisputed payouts. All the people who had other issues took much longer than that. So give us a little background on your situation with the Garden City Group.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize that it didn't end. It's still happening. It's still happening to quite a lot of people, and there's still a lot of money left to be released.
Years later.
Yeah, quite a bit. So I guess going back and telling my original story is the best. This is a little bit interesting. So Black Friday, I'm driving to meet my accountant to file my taxes, and Lucky Chris Vitch, my partner at DeucesCrack.com, calls me up and said, Joe, something just happened. And I was like, get out of here, you know? And sure enough, I pull over the car and I try to pop up Full Tilt to my phone, and I see the DOJ logo, and I immediately call my accountant and say, I'm not coming in today to pay my taxes. There's no chance at this. And so I go home, and I have no SD actually on Skype, and I just kind of call him up, and I'm like, we're kind of looking over things, watching MVG explode, refreshing the websites. Holy cow, this is actually happening. And he's like, can you log in? I'm like, I'm already logged in. I was playing this morning. So I was actually already logged into fulltilt.com and actively logged in as Black Friday occurred.
On the client, the actual client.
On the client. On the native client on my Mac. And which I think is key, by the way, on my Mac. We'll get to that point in a minute. So he's like, can you access your money? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to withdraw. So I withdrew $500. I'm like, I'll withdraw $500. Like, see what happens. Nobody knew anything. Black Friday just happened an hour ago.
So you don't have to say your balance, but was that a large percentage of your overall balance, or was it a small percentage?
No,
okay.
Small.
Okay.
Yeah, this is basically money I could risk, whatever.
Okay.
But significant enough to make them think about it. It wasn't like a $20 withdrawal or something.
Right.
So I withdraw, and I don't think anything of it, and I'm still logged in, and Black Friday continues to explode on MVG and all sorts, and I'm still logged in, and Saturday I wake up, and I'm still logged in, and I start playing some cards. And not only did I start playing some cards, I started playing No Limit. As you guys might know, I play limit games, mostly stud. I'm the mod of the stud forum on 2+2. And I actually have a WSOP package in the live staking forum because my kids are going to be gone to Japan for the month of June, and I'm playing almost all stud tournaments.
Ah, nice.
I'm re-entering the fold. Haven't really played a tournament since 2009 like that. So, because I'm really having a time when you have two children. You know this, Adam.
Yes.
Yep. And so I lean over to the No Limit games, and I just open them up, and literally people are just going bananas on Full Tilt.
Because these are the only people that are, once you log out of the client, you're done. You can't get back in. There was a bug where if you were logged in when it happened, you stayed logged in and you could continue to play. People knew that. At this point, it kind of looked like...
Or if your connection broke, don't forget, if you broke your active connection, overnight, you slept or something.
So the mindset was, this site's going down. There's 0 chance I'm ever getting this money. Woohoo! I'm going to throw a party with my mom.
It was crazy. I ended up playing 3-6 No Limit. I think I ended up playing 5-10 for a little while. And I won I don't know, $2,000.
Yeah.
And I stayed logged in till Tuesday afternoon.
So 5 days.
Almost.
Yeah.
And I set my computer to never shut off and just refresh the screen and never lose connection.
And how many players?
And I just stayed there. I was the last person logged in on Full Tilt.
Nice.
So by the end, on Monday and Tuesday, there was only a handful of games left. But people were just literally just shoving their stacks in.
And you were playing seriously.
And you were knitting it up.
Totally. I don't know how to play No Limit. I just know full slot because the blinds are really small, and then when you have a good hand, get it in, right? I mean, easy game. So, Yeah. That's basically, and you know what? That strategy absolutely was perfect for that situation.
Of course.
So you get the you log out. We go through the whole process.
Well, actually, I ended up getting kicked out on Tuesday afternoon. They issued a forced logout for all active sessions.
Took them 5 days to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think it was actually they forced logged out all the Windows clients on Sunday or Monday.
You mentioned that. Yeah.
Mac guys. Yeah, because like on Tuesday there was like nobody there.
So okay, we go through the Garden City process. So years later, I'm sure you got.
Rest sold, Diamond Flush and others spearhead this. Not many people that it actually came up, and it actually came up in a thread in MBG that Diamond Flush, who passed away in January, Jeff Ifrah at the iGaming North America conference, which happened last month, they gave an award out. The Operator of the Year award is called the Diamond Flush Award.
Right.
Her name, and Jeff gave a little. I don't like saying eulogy, but I guess a little dissertation, and he mentioned something that not many people knew, is that she was one of the catalysts in getting Pokerstars to make the full tilt players whole.
Wow, didn't know that.
How did that come about?
I'll spare the details to Jeff because I don't want to speak in his behalf, but I am absolutely certain sitting there at that luncheon, that's almost a quote for what he said. And she was, he literally said not many people knew, but she was in on those meetings. In fact, they actually asked her to be in those meetings, and she was like, no, because she was just like that,
Yeah.
And they're like, and then when she got in there, and Jeff was in on those meetings, that a lot of that happened. He was actually counsel for Full Tilt at that time. So that deal happens, and then they start the petition process. People log in. You can see your balance. And they obviously obtain the Full Tilt Poker database. You use your email that's registered with Full Tilt Poker and your username. You go to fulltiltpokerclaims.com. You check your balance. You say yes, it's correct, and you submit your petition. And a year goes by, and those payments start to happen, which was last year when most of the big payments made. I log in, and I see, everything seems correct, minus 500.
The withdrawal.
Yeah, like my balance should be this. And I actually logged into, you could actually log into Full Tilt Poker client that Pokerstars was supporting and download your history from years ago. And I did that. And I also kept the email withdrawal notice with the transaction number on it for 4 years. And I'm like, here it is. This is easy. Like, my balance plus 500 equals what the amount that shows from the Full Tilt Poker client, when I download the history. This should be easy. So I'll submit a disputed petition. And when you went through the steps on fulltiltpokerclaims.com that was supported by the Garden City Group, it seemed easy. It was like, okay, disputed petition. Click this petition. Click this button. Tell us why. I told them why. I uploaded the actual email from Full Tilt, and look at my balance. Here's the spreadsheet from the client. Here you can see the transaction here. Here's the email with the transaction number. You can see it here. This plus minus 500 equals the number on the spreadsheet. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Well,
because you weren't tagged as an affiliate or anything like that.
I wasn't. I did not have an affiliate account. I didn't have any of those other tags that were on it at all. Just disputed petitions.
Right.
So the first wave of payments goes through last year, and it's just the players who didn't have disputes. And a lot of them with large balances, and a ton of money went through. And then a second wave went through in June last year. And then Full Tilt Poker Claims goes basically dead. In fact, if you still call the number that is on the website, the holding message while you're on hold is, in June 2014, released. Yeah, it's still that.
Yeah.
So, and I am like, where's my money? Like, it should have been easy. What's the deal? I just keep emailing them, and they keep on telling me that it's in processing. So I go from like an email every month to an email every week last fall. And then I just start calling. And being a passive-aggressive jerk from Massachusetts, I do pretty good in those calls.
Yeah.
And I start just drilling a hole trying to get up the chain, basically. And one of my last conversations was quite comical. I called up, and a lady answered. I gave her my petition number, and she's like, okay, so what did they tell you? And I'm like, what do you mean, they? She's like, oh, well, what did they say in the email? I'm like, okay, who's they? She's like, the Garden City Group. I'm like, I thought I'm talking to the Garden City Group. She's like, oh, well, you are. But, I just want to know what they said in the email. I'm like, okay, wait, stop. I don't know who they is. Or who you're talking about, but I think I want to talk to they, and you're not they, so put me through to they. And sure, she started laughing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so she's just some kind of call center help.
Right.
Joe, I wanted
Go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to ask you, have you talked to anybody else who's in a similar situation as you with a disputed balance? Have you been in contact with anybody and got together on this? Is there a forum or a thread people can check out for people who
there's the thread that's been kicking up in MVG for almost 4 years now. Is FTP remission issues only thread.
Okay. So that's the one.
Top of MVG right now, as I look. And that was started 9/15/2013. And it's still kicking around. Yeah. And so there was a couple other 2+2ers that were in the same boat as me. And sure enough, in February, we got notice that the first wave of disputed petitions that have been approved and will be issued. And I got a specific email saying, I am in that group. I am in that wave.
Yeah.
And you will receive your payment by the end of March. And so the end of March comes around, and I get an email the day of payment that's supposed to be made saying my ACH information is incorrect. And as Adam said the other day to me, I'm like, I can tell you the ACH information off the top of my head right now, including the location of the bank in Southern California where I first opened my Chase a Bank account 8 years ago. And so I quickly get on the phone. I go to the website. I go into where I'm supposed to, quote, correct my ACH information, and there isn't anything in the form.
So they deleted your ACH info.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens after 3 years. Like, Terrence knows this stuff. You move a database, you lose connections, it's simple. So, that basically happened. And so I was like, okay, so I instantly upload my ACH information, and that was a Friday, so I waited till Monday to call. And they're like, okay, well, all those people have until April 16th, and then we'll review those. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll wait. So I wait. And then I end up in a couple of those phone calls, and I finally get through to actual Garden City Group people. And I get to a point where it's late April, and I'm like, no one has told me when my payment's being made. My account is approved. Oh, yeah, I see it's approved and you've been paid. I'm like, no! I'm like, look, somebody knows. I'm like, somebody in your company knows exactly what is happening, and I need to talk to that person.
So what happens is Joe's telling me, or he's on Skype, and we're chatting, and he's like, okay, I'm going to call them. Do you want to come on the line? I'm going to, and I said, sure, yeah, this will be fun. So Joe's obviously concerned about the rules and the law of
you could Twitch this, by the way.
You could have Twitched it.
Twitch calls the Garden City Group.
So Joe's like, okay, so he puts me on the call. He calls up the guy, and he says, hey, it's Joe, and quotes his number, and the guy says, okay, great. And then Joe's like, okay, before we start this conversation, I have Adam Schwartz, Poker Reporter, on the line. Is it okay if he listens to the call? And the guy's totally taken aback. He's like, well, why would he be in the call? And Joe was like, well, so he can report on exactly what's going on with the FTP remissions. And he's, I've got to get approval for this. So he hangs up, and that was, what day was that? That was
yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah. And
yep.
and then he never calls back. Or Joe, did you call him back and find out?
I did call him back, and he basically said no. And I have information to hand over you. He actually was quite helpful. He gave me, and I haven't actually talked to you until right now.
Yeah.
He gave me the direct contact at the DOJ to call and ask specific questions.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
So, but then
I have that written down here.
A couple hours later, Joe says on Skype, I didn't see it, but he's like, "Yeah, I got paid." It was kind of funny that as soon as you call up with like a reporter on the line, that you got the money sent.
So basically, anybody else there is missing money. Adams,
you drop my name.
What is your rate?
Yeah, exactly.
For listening to the call.
Yeah, just create a Twitch account first and
then broadcast it.
Get paid.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Thanks for the update, Joe. Appreciate that. Glad you finally got your money. And if anybody's out there still battling, check out that.
The affiliates still are.
The affiliates still are. If you're tagged as an affiliate,
yep. Are the pros? What about the red pros? Do they have gotten their money yet?
That's a good
they
question.
haven't, but they are also been rumored to be slated in the next wave, which is supposedly is quote the end of quarter 2.
Right. So the idea is basically there's money left. If these affiliates and red pros, if everybody had collected their money that was owed in the first wave and the second wave, these guys would be left out in the cold, I'm thinking.
Well, I honestly think that's one of the issues is that there's so much money that's going unclaimed, is that they see this. Like, what's the rush?
Yeah.
They can pay everybody's salaries that's working on this.
Right, exactly.
There's no rush at all.
Terrence, Joe and I were guessing on what the largest unclaimed balance was. We were trying to figure out what that be. I'm curious as to what you think the largest balance on Full Tilt Poker that nobody submitted a claim for.
Oh, that nobody submitted a claim for?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just
there's a lot of that.
I would set the line at maybe 7,500.
7,500, wow. I said like 400,000.
Yeah, and I was more like I was in the middle. I was like 35 grand.
Wow.
Because here's my thought process. There's so many people at that time. Remember, if you think back, there were so many people unknowns playing 1,000, 2,000.
Yes, and if they're just millionaires and they don't.
What if they're cheating on their taxes? And what if they're worried about sending their tax information into the government to get that money, to recover that money, right?
There you go.
I mean, I think I'll bet you there was some pretty big number.
I'm just too honest to correct.
You don't even think of that person. Yeah, I'm deviant there. That's why. Joe, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time, sir. You are the director of fantasy sports over at BetAmerica.com. Everything going well.
Will I see you in June, Terrence?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you'll see Terrence.
We'll be there, and we'll hang out, and hopefully everybody will.
I'm actually, for the first time, I'm re-entering the fold. I'll be playing a slated tournament. Almost all the stud events starting in June. My kids leave for Japan on June 8th. They come home August 6th. So I actually, for the first time in 7 years, I have time to actually play.
Nice.
Go buy the man's stud package.
And where's the stud package? Where can we find the
stud it's package? In the live forum. Yeah, live marketplace forum.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Highly appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, bye.
Thank you to Mr. Joe Tall. Again, if you want to check out his package for the WorldSeriesPoker.com,
you want to check out his package?
Check out his my package. Indeed, you rocking the my packages these days? You loving it? What's your review?
Yeah, it's a yes.
What's your review in the my package?
I think they're wonderful. Most of the time I don't notice it. Like if I'm just sitting here, I'm doing the show, I'm throwing sweatpants underneath. I don't notice. What I really notice is when I'm just lounging around the house in my underwear. That's kind of how free it is. Like I'm just like I'm there. I'm like cooking a steak.
It's like a velvet glove around your sack.
Exactly.
That's what it's like.
That is the best. How do you not work for their marketing?
I don't know.
Velvet glove around you. That is exactly what it is.
The package this nice.
I was going to say, like,
gift wrap.
If you're wearing jeans or sweatpants, you're not going to notice as much. But if you're just kind of
sitting around your underwear,
it's the best. And let's face it, our target demographic, our audience, sits around in their underwear a lot.
Yeah, these are the my package underwear that the fine folks were nice enough to send us.
I better send us another box.
Yeah,
now.
I think we've earned another box. Thanks so much to those guys. We are going to come back. We got lots to get to, some shout-outs, some emails. We're not going to get to all of them, I don't think. It's been a fairly long show so far, but we'll get to as much as we can. We'll save some for next week. Next week, by the way, I mentioned Bart Hansen. The week after is you're going to host.
My God.
You're going to host this crazy show.
So you found me a co-host.
I did. Maz and Corey. M. Sauce is going to come into studio. He's here for Scoop, and he's going to co-host with you.
But I'm gonna try not to break everything in here, and hopefully we still have listeners the week after.
Put your stamp on it. What do you got? Some guests lined up? What's the plan?
I haven't. I'm not going to say.
Not going to
I've got some in my mind. I've got a whiteboard at home now. By the way,
you have a whiteboard on this?
Productivity hack.
That's great.
Hack is I just got all the shit I need to do. I just bought a big old whiteboard. I threw it up on my wall. I've got a small apartment, but I've just got it on my wall, and that way I never forget anything. It's just a good little hack. I've got all my training stuff up there. I've got everything else. So I've got like a whiteboard, a list of possible guests. I've been Xing them out and emailing some of them, and
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do you proud, Adam.
All right, I can't wait to listen to it. Looking forward to that. You are listening to the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. More right after this.
500 Zoom 6 max, 370 big blinds deep. I open button with the min raise with queen 8 of clubs. Greg Merson calls on the small. Flop comes deuce 4 queen with diamonds flush draw. He leads 1750 and I raise to 55. He 3-bets to 172 and I call. Turn is a brick, deuce of clubs, and he bets 2/3 of the pot. I call. River is a king of hearts, leaving the flush draws missed, and Greg overbets the pot big, betting 1,470 into $785 pot. I felt like he might be pushing me off my hand, so I called and was good against his 10-9 of diamond.
Team Pro Online's Mikhail Inasai Shalamov is a Supernova Elite VIP. This is the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club.
Okay, people, most of the kittens have perished. There are a few left you can save, though, and here's how to do it. Get involved with the Pokercast by emailing your questions, suggestions for the show, or even record a sound clip. Adam will be using the best ones on the air. Well, let's face it, probably the worst ones as well. I can see you there at your computer. Send an email right now. Totally disagree with one of Adam's takes last week? Send an email. Love last week's interview? Email. Want to know how much cash Adam has on him right now? Email. Pokercast@2plus2.com is the address. Ship the funny to Adam today.
Hi guys, it's Mike from ProfessionalPoker.com and the 2+2 store with some great news for our Pokerstars players. You can now use your frequent player points to purchase gift cards available from ProfessionalPoker.com. These same cards will also work at the 2+2 store. The gift cards come in increments of $25 and $50, and you can apply multiple gift cards per order. Now you can get the books, videos, and ebooks from all the major publishers using just your FPPs. So check out the gift card section of the PokerStars FPP store and pick up the poker training material you've had your eye on for a while at the 2+2 store and ProfessionalPoker.com.
Hey guys, I wanted to tell you about the schedule over at CrushLivePoker.com. Of course, every other Monday we've got the Surreal Advantage podcast hosted by 2+2 Advantage Play legend Dolly Man. And on Wednesdays we have David Tuckman interviewing some of the biggest names in poker in his Under the Gun podcast. Every Tuesday, of course, is the Crush Live Poker podcast. And on Thursdays we rotate between Pot Limit Omaha, Pot Limit Omaha 8, and Tournament Strategy. On Fridays, of course, is the Crush Live Poker videos hosted by myself, David Chan, and David Tuckman. And on Sunday nights is Crush Live Call-ins, where you can call in and have your No Limit Hold'em hands analyzed. It's all over at CrushLivePoker.com.
Welcome back to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the Pokerstars VIP Club. I do quickly want to mention the T-shirts we had planned. Mike Spence, a listener to our show, was nice enough to do up a design for us, and that was a couple months ago. We haven't figured out a way to get these shirts to people. Mike doesn't have a distribution system, so they would all have to be made and sent somewhere to be then sent out to people who want these things. I originally thought the 2+2 store would be a good thing, but they operate on a profit, and that's not really the idea of this thing. We want to send them out at cost price for everybody who's interested in the show and give away some here and there. So I don't really have a distribution plan, and I don't know what to do.
Other than get them at the World Series?
You could do that for sure, but then what am I going to do with 300 shirts? Like, how am I going to get them home or whatever, right?
That's true. So, if anybody...
Somebody's out there
who does the old, has a warehouse.
Some sort of distribution plan, let me know, because we need some help with that.
We'd like to get these to people. And
and like I said, Mike was nice enough to do that and is going to give us a great deal on actually printing the shirts.
A FP store? Is that a possibility?
I don't know. That's a good question. We could probably ask and find out if Stars would help us out with that. That's something to think about as well.
That would be cool.
Indeed. So we're going to do something here this week. We're going to do the Rossco Report in the first part of this segment. So let's get right to that.
All right.
Want a cookie?
So the Rossco Report this week is some more hands. People seem to be enjoying this segment, breaking down some hands. One of them is going to be a live PLO hand that you played here at the Edgewater Casino, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Another is going to be from a Scoop No Limit Hold'em tournament hand that you played. You satellited your way into
to the 109 rebuy yesterday.
109 rebuy, and then there's going to be a Scoop PLO hand, Scoop
No Limit.
Scoop No Limit, sorry. And then a Scoop PLO too, right?
Yeah, the 109 rebuy was the PLO.
Oh, I see. Okay, yes. Fair enough. Okay, so let's do the live PLO hand first.
All right. So I went to the casino on Saturday. Haven't played live in a little while. I was sitting at 1-2, and then the fishiest guys from my table started moving to PLO. So I was like, I had to take that seat, even though I already kind of discussed about how that game's a little too big for me, but
because it's a 1-2-5.
It's 1-2-5, bring in 10 straddle, which people do all the time, and it's an uncapped buy-in. So sometimes people just buy in to cover the table.
Gotcha. And you brought a lot of money.
Take a shot. Following the fish is obviously a time to take a shot. I mean, you should take shots.
It was amazing. These guys had no idea what they were doing. They were trying to use 3 cards. They were trying to use all their cards. Awesome. They were separating their hands into 2 hold'em hands. It was great.
That's awesome.
So I stack off twice to them.
You buy in for 300?
I buy in for 300. I stack off with a wrap, and then I get it all in with King 7-8 double suited and lose to 9-6-5-4, who obviously makes the nuts straight.
How are you getting it in with King 7-8, by the way?
Well, I just knew that this guy was going to call me off, so I raised.
But
I
if you're
3
playing
bet,
guys,
and then I 4-bet.
If you're playing guys that are just terrible, I think you probably want to wait for a spot where you're not a lot of times a coin flip or small favorite.
Or even just getting the money in post flop.
Yeah, just wait to get your money until you
big favorite.
Yeah,
even if you had double suited aces.
I'm not sure. Yeah. Anyway, okay, so go ahead.
Okay. So I win a big hand. I triple back up, and then I move from the must move game to the main game.
Okay.
So this hand comes up.
So you take the whole 3 buy-in. Now you're tripled up. You got to take your 3 buy-ins over.
Yeah, I have like.
You're playing
deep. Think at all about just kind of like walking out and putting your name, rolling your name back on the list?
Yeah, I mean, I did, but the list was long, and I don't know. I figured I'd just take it over. I was planning on trying to win one more pot and then leave.
I guess you're not playing too deep. If you got 900 and 1, 2, 5, 10, that's not very deep. Okay.
Yeah, so...
but if we're talking about it from a bankroll management perspective,
that's different,
this game was kind of uncomfortable for me, sort of thing.
Yeah. I did leave soon after this. So I have 950 behind. I'm in the main game. A couple of people that I played with before. I'm under the gun +2 with Ace, Jack 5, Rainbow. It goes limp to me. I make it 25. It folds to the button calls. The big blind calls, and then the 2 guys behind me also call.
5-handed to the flop.
Yeah, 5-handed.
Okay.
So the flop is 9-4 Rainbow. I figure it's a great flop to C-bet for my overpair. Pot's 125.
Okay, stop right there. Just that thought, that it's a great flop for your. Now, if you flat a guy let's say you flat a guy on the button, and it's 5-way action, and it comes 9 deuce 4.
Yeah.
What chance do you give that guy who raised cold under the gun with having any part of 9 deuce 4? You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to look at it from that point of view, and then you're going to lead out into 4 or 5 people, and somebody can really take control. Somebody in position really can take a shot at you there a lot of the time. I'm going to take a shot at you a lot of the time in that spot.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just going to, if you got 9s, great.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll run
out
a big multi-way bluff on it. Like, it's kind of protected in the sense that, let's say you're the small blind or something like that. You've still got, the big blind. You've still got 2 guys active behind you, right? So, like, if Ross bets and then it's folded to you, and you've just got not very much, you're not necessarily, maybe you've got top pair or something. You're not necessarily going to raise just based on the fact
if I have
that you've got
9, 10, Jack, King,
right?
I have some equity there. I'm taking a shot at you.
Yeah,
a lot of the times. Now,
that's true.
Now that shouldn't be that. You should never bet in that spot because you obviously have to, balance betting ranges and stuff too. So I'm not saying don't ever bet in that spot. I'm just saying think about it a little bit more, especially given who's behind.
Yeah.
If it's a guy who could take a shot at
It
you.
wasn't. It was a lady I'd played with before.
Okay.
She was very nitty.
So you lead the flop.
People in this game, I don't see them bluff.
Yeah, and that being said, it is a flop where most other people won't connect. Yes, it's true the pre-flop raiser doesn't connect with this flop very often, but actually it's just kind of a not that connected flop to begin with because people don't play 3, 5, 6 in their hand very often.
Yeah.
Right. You're representing a set most of the time if you take a shot here. So you bet 80 and a 125 on the flop.
Yeah, I bet 80. The button calls, everyone else folds.
The button is the lady?
The button's the lady.
She's a nit?
She's nitty, but also she can go crazy with draws.
Okay.
Of which we just kind of said there aren't many.
Not a lot of
3, 5, 6 is pretty much it.
So the turn is a 5, so it's 9 deuce 4 5 now. And I figured I would bet because I have straight blockers, and she might fold 9XXX. If she was calling to try and make 2 pair. So I lead for 155 into 285. And she pots it. So I fold. Can't call.
Fold, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the turn, if 285 in the middle, you check call a bet. I don't know. As played, I think even if I led the flop and she called, I think I'm checking the turn.
I'm worried this lady probably has like something like bottom set on the flop and doesn't want to like put a bunch of money in, and also she might have like top pair.
When the straight came though. That's weird.
Mm-hmm. Well, no. I'm thinking this before it's the action. I don't think the decision is whether you should fold the turn. I think that's pretty clear. I think the decision is whether you barrel again on the turn.
I see. Okay.
Right. So once she check calls the flop, and then once she I guess she's in position. When she calls the flop, you had to start thinking of all the things that she could potentially have. I think like middle set, bottom set, top pair with some connected cards. That's the kind of stuff that she inclines to have. And what of that stuff will she fold on the turn if you barrel again? Is I guess
right.
Yeah, I was hoping she would fold.
Clearly.
You had 1 pair.
All right, let's do the Scoop 109 pot limit Omaha.
Okay, so that live session, I ended up winning a little bit, and then I left.
Okay.
So in this Scoop tournament, I satellited for $7 into the 109 rebuy. I coasted through the rebuy period and the add-on period, and I was almost at the bubble, which was like 600. So I almost martingaled $7 into 600, which I really wanted to, but I got moved from my nice table where this hand happened to a table where I had Godlike Roy on my right and George Danzer on my left. And I went card dead, and I was out of the tournament. But let's talk about this one.
So in this Scoop hand, you are in the small blind. The
big blind.
No. In the PLO hand.
Oh, the PLO hand.
Yeah. The blinds are 100, 200. You have 11,000. In your hand is the Jack 9, 7, 6, the Jack 9 of hearts. You're in the small blind again. It folds to the button, who makes it 500. You flat the 500. I think I'm folding 100% of the time in that hand.
Really?
In that spot with that hand.
Really?
Yeah. It's not a great hand to play out of position. You're not going to make too many nut hands unless it's a straight, right? I mean, it's the Jack 9 of hearts doesn't really get me too excited. I think that's a fold for me in that spot.
I don't think I do. I think that's got enough decent, you're mostly drawing as straights, but you sometimes back into other things too. I will call.
Okay. The big blind calls. So the flop, three to the flop. The flop comes ace, jack, jack, 2 spades. Again, you have Jack 9, 7, 6. This actually illustrates why it's difficult to play this hand when you do flop.
Sure, this flop is our.
Okay, yeah. Check, check, check on the flop. The turn is the king of hearts, so it's now ace, jack, jack, king. Ross, you lead for half pot.
Still have trips, so that's the question. There is whether you're going to lead with these kind of bad trips. Obviously, you just want to win this pot.
You'd like to take it down with a bet here.
You're assuming that anybody else putting in this money in the pot has a better hand than you at this point.
Well. Yeah, I mean, a straight might call.
A straight might call.
I have a
straight is beating you. So yeah.
Especially when you bet a half pot on the turn, you're getting called by a straight 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Ace, king, jack, jack again, 2 spades. The river is the 9, which fills you up.
The big blind calls.
Baby full house.
Sorry, the big blind falls. Big blind calls. Button folds. So you have the not low full house, right? You lead for a third pot, 1,000. And the guy makes
1,007, actually.
1,007, sorry, into the 3,052. The big blind makes it 6,073 to go, and you fold. I like it. I'm folding
you
there.
Think you lead the sliver?
I'm not reading the lead. Yeah, sorry, I like the fold.
The yeah.
I'm probably not going to lead the river.
It's going to be hard to really get value from
straights,
a queen 10 or a lame jack, right? That's just basically
queen jack. Yeah,
really value. Yeah, queen jack is it.
Yeah, and I don't. And the ranges or the amount of hands that beat you are much more than that. So
maybe he had like king XX or king. Little.
Plus, when you bet third pot, it just encourages people to take shots at you. And if you're going to bet fold, it's sort of tough because
this table hadn't been.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, you just have to make sure that
you do it with big hands.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So that's that hand. Now this is the scoop.
No limit hold'em.
No limit hold'em. The scoop 07 low, $7.50 buy, and you have 46,000 to start this hand. Blinds are 400, 800. You're in the big blind. There are ante as well. So it folds around to middle position, who makes the raise, and you call. The flop comes queen. Sorry, you have 2 5s in the big blind. Flop comes queen 10 5, 2 spades. You check call, which we just talked about last week. About our
playing with bottom
listener
set.
who had bottom set.
Oh God, I know.
on a drawy board,
on a super dry board.
The reasoning that I was trying to take this line was because I was watching a stream of a guy playing the W Coupe high roller, and he was talking about like slow playing, and I just figured I'd try and take this line, and as you'll see, it didn't work in some trouble.
Yeah, and the other thing is Queen 10 hits his range so much, right? Like a check raise there, you're going to get called by Ace Queen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or King Jack or something like that. Yeah.
You might get it against Aces or Kings.
Aces or Kings. You're going to be able to...
it's not the worst thing in the world because sometimes...
Yeah.
Sometimes a really bad... Like, let's say... I've definitely slow played quote unquote bottom set when it's a very draw heavy board when there's a very good chance the next card is terrible. So like the kind of thing you might think about is like Jack 8-7 with a flush draw or something like that. Mm-hmm. You have a set of 7s. You might not actually be ahead if a bunch of money goes in and there's a bunch of bad cards that can show up for you on the turn. So maybe you wait for a safe card before putting in. I don't think this is the spot for it, but I sort of understand the logic, I guess.
You check call the flop. As we said, the turn is the 6 of spades, bringing the flush. You check. He bets a third pot, right? He bets 3,200 into 9,000.
That's an easy call.
And you call 9 of clubs in the river, brings straights as well. 18,000 in the middle. You bet 6,000, and he ships for
I don't understand
6.
this bet.
No, he clicks it back.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. He clicks it back to 12. You bet 6. He clicks it back to 12.
I don't. What? So, Ross, what's your thinking when you're betting the river for third pot after you've check called the turn?
I don't know.
You just don't want to go check.
Yeah, I was like, I think Oh, it was like I played this hand very badly, but I maybe what was going through my mind was like, I can't believe how wrongly I've played this. Like maybe I can
fuck it up some more.
Maybe I can get value from Queen 10 or like, and then.
I mean, at this point, if the other guy is Queen 10, he's probably betting for you anyway because you've showed you've not shown any sort of. I mean, there might be guys who would check back Queen 10 here. I don't think most of them would. I don't see, and so you have a great bluff. All
I have is a bluff catcher at this point.
Yeah, you have a great bluff catcher.
Basically, all it is.
So leading with a bluff catcher, not generally the best thing. I'm not sure I like that. Once he raises, I don't know what to do when he clicks it back.
He clicks it back, and I'm beating nothing.
You're beating nothing of value. Well, you really have a bluff catcher. You're getting 6-1. Is that about right?
Yeah.
This is what bluffs are there? Like berries, spades. I mean, there's not much there.
This is kind of a disaster.
Nobody's clicking it back with the berries and spades.
Yeah, exactly.
Unhold them.
That is Rossco's hands for the week. But also, Ross is going to.
So we'll put those up in the thread, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't play well.
If you want to put them in the, Ross will put them up in the Pokercast thread at Pokercast2+2.com, so you don't have to listen to us narrate.
Right. You can follow along if you watch the hands. So Ross is going to do each week a little bit of a Railbird report and talking about some of the big games that have gone on online during the week. This week, what do you have there?
The return of Isildur.
He's back.
He's back. He has somehow accumulated another massive roll, and he's playing the best of the best.
Well, we know he didn't get it through full tilt money. So.
Right.
Isildur in the last few days, I don't know. It's a lot of speculation about how he accumulates these large sums of money and then takes them against people who he's debatably not winning against.
That's his MO. He's been doing this forever.
I don't understand it. I really don't. Like he's.
I don't know why it surprises you.
I would think it's been called backing, but I mean that's just
I guess there's backing.
On my part.
Yeah, there's backing, but like he's a very interesting character.
Who's he been playing?
So he started out playing Sauce. That was his first opponent, playing 4 tables of 250, 500 on full tilt. PLO. Joe Ingram did a little segment on this, so there's a few hands in the high stakes thread. I won't really get into it, but Sauce crushed him pretty good, a few $100K. He played Doorbread. He loses to Doorbread. Then he moves to 8 game, like 248 to 2K, 4K on full tilt. He's playing with Ivey and someone else, and he runs that up to like $1 million in a session. So he wins back all of his PLO losses and crushes his 8 game.
Yeah.
And he seems to always crush 8 game, which is
strange.
He's quite good at it. So
I don't know about that. I mean, I think he said on record, like, didn't he play the 50K one year? He was like, I don't actually know how to play any of these games.
But I think in the meantime, he's played a lot. He actually plays a ton of Omaha Hilo split head-up.
Yeah, he battles the experts in every game.
Yeah, that's like you were saying. That's what he does. He plays everybody at their best game.
Okay. So the most interesting, I think, match was yesterday where him and Ben 86 played 3 tables of 2 and 400. It was right in the middle of the lobby, right while all the scoop action and other high-stakes PLO was running. And Isildur took on Ben. And when I logged in, I thought Ben was losing because Isildur had over 400K on the table and over 3 tables. And so it turns out that Ben actually started the match, plus he won like $270,000 right off the bat. And then I guess they quit and they came back with even stacks. And then Isildur won back all of the 270 plus 140. And then after that, I guess they quit again and they were back to even stacks. I guess one of them like took a break a few times. And eventually, after Isildur being up 140, Ben runs it all back and wins over, what is that? What's that swing? Like 500?
A lot.
Yeah, it's almost like
play the mini zeros drop.
Like, yeah, 490,000, and so he ends up winning this session plus $354,400 of Isildur's money.
So Isildur's had an up and down week, as usual.
Yeah, he's been crazy. Up and down like $1 million in the last couple days.
We're going to get to some more high stakes stuff in the mailbag coming up here. So why don't we do that drop and get right into what we can get to?
And now,
That right there is the mail. Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Mac? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay?
Mailbag.
This one comes from his name withheld. He didn't want to have his name read out on the show. I've been listening to the show for a while now.
To listen to the listening to the show.
Me either. I got into podcasts just a few months before Mike left. Like most people in the mailbag, I would like to say that you guys have been doing a great job. Adam has stepped up to the main host duties. Terrence, great commentary for a long-winded SOB. And Ross has added a lot to the production. See how I always read the...
It warmed my feelings at night.
I always read the nice things that people say and cut out some of the other stuff they say. So just if you're sending a letter, lots of nice things.
You can go to the forum for the mean things.
Yeah. I have two questions I'd like to hear you discuss. First, it's been interesting listening to you guys talking about playing poker professionally. I've had plans on going pro for a while now. It's a little depressing to hear Adam saying you wouldn't go that route again, but I appreciate the honesty. I'm mostly a cash player, but I do well in tournaments. Won't go into the details, but humor me and pretend I have what it takes. I'm not the kind of guy who can leave a job without having another lined up, so it's been hard to go for it. I also can't leave my job in Nevada without losing my work visa to the U.S., so I'm committed to the moment. I plan on playing semi-pro, more trips to Vegas, big tournaments, etc. It's only 5.5 hours from work to Las Vegas instead of 7 hours from Elko, so that's a break. If I could get a big enough bankroll, then I'd go for it. Seriously. However, with the upcoming wedding, mortgage, potential children, the dream is coming more and more distant. I think the reality for me is maybe a semi-pro lifestyle. My fiance and I are planning on ending up in Vancouver or Toronto long term. Terrence, in your Nevada experience, how does the World Series of Poker.com compare to Pokerstars? If we ended up back in Canada, I imagine putting in a lot of hours online. I can post a decent return on the site, but I think it's pretty tough with such few players. It seems like very few fish and a lot of regs, except during the World Series of Poker. If it's worse on PokerStars, that's daunting. So let's do that.
I do think it is slightly easier on WSOP.com. I think it's close. And in fairness, I haven't played on WSOP.com in a year. It's very possible that the pros have kind of sucked all the easy money out of there. But I do remember WSOP.com and at Ultimate Poker when it existed. There definitely were some rich fish, and then they just kind of got taken out of the system really quickly. However, on Stars, one of the nice things is that you can find the niche at which you most excel, right? So at WSOP.com, if you don't play No Limit or PLO cash games, you're not going to make a living at it because there just simply isn't enough. There's not enough MTTs. There's not enough sit and goes. On Stars, if you are
PLO, MTTs,
PLO mixed games, MTTs, heads up sit and goes, regular sit and goes, hyper turbos. You find whatever like short stack, big stack, short-handed, full table, whatever it is. You've got so much ability.
Heads up versus Ben 86.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea. You've got so much ability to choose that you're much more likely to be able to find the thing that you're good at than you are at a much smaller site. So I would say that's one aspect where the liquidity really helps somebody who's like an aspiring player.
I'm not even sure. I have a question to this point. Could you talk a bit about this kind of lifestyle? I imagine someone
Vancouver's
approaching
better than Vegas.
Someone approaching 30, married, children, trying to go for it in Nevada, Vancouver, Toronto, and balancing the traditional lifestyle. Yeah, Vancouver, Toronto. If you're playing on, I don't know much about the Toronto live games anymore. In Vancouver, I don't know that the games are big enough. Really, Vancouver's a very expensive place to live. Is there enough action at big limits? Ross would probably be better to answer this. That you can sustain a lifestyle here.
The PLO game is the largest non-private game I know of.
That is definitely an advantage of Vegas, I guess specifically.
You can play big games.
You can definitely make enough money to not even just the big games, but we had we've had live pros on the show before.
It's cheap to live there.
Talking about it, and rent's a lot less in Las Vegas. And
well, it depends on. I mean, I get by and I live here. I have an apartment.
Yeah, you don't have two kids and a mortgage and things like that, right? Which is what this guy wants to have.
Okay, I see.
That's the difficulty, really.
Yeah,
I think.
If you're a single guy who has like no expenses, then it's easier. I
guess. Crazy.
But, I mean, he didn't mention what he does for a living, and I'm not clear on that. But I mean,
he didn't want it known. He did mention it.
If you have skills
than Vancouver or Toronto are in demand. I mean, the job economy is a lot better in Vancouver and in Toronto than it is in Nevada. I mean, like, Nevada is in a little bit of trouble right now. So, I mean, unless he deals cards for a living, I mean, it's a little. Yes, it is more expensive to live in Vancouver or Toronto, but your earning potential is also potentially much higher.
I was talking to my brother about this one at that brunch, and we were saying, like, you can't even operate like a fast food place in Vancouver because your food ends up being so expensive because land and
it's, I mean, in East Vancouver or something like that, you can have a little kebab shop or something like that.
By the way, a Chopped Leaf is opening up in Langley. I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, you like
love
your Chopped Leaf salad. I just make my own salads now.
Yeah, you're a pro. A little more lightheartedly, but not really, I think I found one of the most ancient forms of pot odds. In ancient Rome, there was a form of punishment called decimation. In this system, if you fled from battle or attempted mutiny, 1 out of 10 soldiers were killed by lottery by the remaining 9 out of 10. So
that's
if 10
the original
people...
origin of the word to decimate.
Really?
To actually, people think that decimate means like
destroy.
You like wipe out completely or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the people say like the atomic bomb decimated your.
Yeah.
That's an incorrect usage of the term because technically it means literally 10% decimation, decimal.
Gotcha. So if 10 people, there were 10 soldiers that were fleeing or mutinied. They were out of 10. 1 out of 10 would be killed by the other 9. So there'd be a lottery to decide which one was killed by the other 9. This is where it gets interesting to me. He says, if you're facing what you thought to be a losing battle, how bad of a slaughter would you think it would have to be before you fled? I.e., 1 out of 10 of us would die, 5 out of 10, 9 out of 10. How bad will your death be on the battlefield be? Being clubbed to death by your friend or clubbing your friend to death would be horrible enough to push you towards fighting it out, but to what extent? I think if 1 out of 10 died and the other 9 got to go free, I think it's a little bit more of an interesting decision because even if you're one of the 9 that wins the so-called lottery, you got to club your buddy to death.
Yeah, that sucks.
And you got to live with that for the rest of your life. I think I'd rather be the one that got clubbed to death.
And I have my knowledge of history isn't enough, but I would imagine in these battles, significantly more than 10% of people died. But I'm just guessing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know exactly what the right number there is. But we do actually, you have a plan for hypothetical questions, right?
I do. I'm going to work on some, and we're just going to kind of goof off with
that's going to be a fun segment. We're going to start up hypothetical stuff like if you could buy a third eye.
Knows.
Well, that one, how many 5-year-olds is the standard one?
We'll talk. We'll save it. Why are you going to?
You weren't going to do the third eye. That was. I didn't spoil anything.
Could have, though.
Okay. Hi, Adam, TC, and Rossco. I'm a long-time listener from UK, listening since about episode 70. He doesn't say how far from Kelsey is, even though he's in the UK. I wanted to bring up a subject you sort of briefly discussed a few episodes back, namely the failure to increase the numbers of women playing the game. I honestly think that guys' behavior at the live tables is a factor and one that needs to be discussed. I was at a table at my local card room in a tourney last night. We had a female dealer who looked to be a teenager. During the first orbit of a middle-aged guy, not me, said to her, "I see you got your cans out this evening." And the 3 other guys commented. Poor girl was very embarrassed. Checked out the thread in That's What She Said forum about drawing the line on questionable verbals at the table. There are some horrendous tales there that women talk about that they had to deal with. I'm a middle-aged bloke. Sounds familiar, Adam, he says. So I'm not directly affected, but I think it's a subject worthy of discussion. Maybe you could bump up the ratio of female guests by having one of the gals from this That's What She Said forum on to discuss and educate us a little. I think that's a good idea. Yeah. Keep up the good work, fellas.
Jen, but it's always to talk about chess.
Yeah, exactly. Nick Clifford, a.k.a. Braincell 2+2. Yeah, I mean, that's fucking ridiculous. If somebody said that...
absolutely terrible. I mean, I'm like, it's obviously awful, and the sad part is I'm not even shocked. Like I don't
that's,
for a second
standard.
Think that story exactly, and it's sad that it is really standard because like you've seen so many stuff like that. Like my girlfriend, she plays a little bit of poker once in a while. Like it's ridiculous. Like
she gets...
what people put up with it. I mean, I compete in a combat sport. And I see the women at the gym. Like, this is like a 95% guy thing, too. Guys are sweating. There's tons of testosterone in the room. Like, it's basically a locker room environment. They're still way more respectful. Like, you would never, like, tolerate the kind of stuff that goes on at the poker table. It's really bad.
Call them out. If that happens at the table, call them out.
I agree that people like that should be called out. You can call the floor, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A listener named Jake wrote in. I'm not going to read the whole email, but he talked about we were talking Pacquiao Mayweather last week,
right?
And the fact that Mayweather is a douche and Pacquiao was the media darling.
Yep.
And he pointed out that Pacquiao has often expressed his disapproval of homosexuality, government-funded birth control, and uses quotes from scripture. He also believed condoms are sinful. Allegedly, once said homosexuals should be put to death. So yeah. I mean,
basically saying that, hey, this guy that
isn't the greatest guy in the world
isn't really. I mean, and he's got a point that
yep.
His views, they're certainly by our standard in Western society pretty Stone Age. We would call them homophobic. We would call them, regressive,
hiding behind religion,
exactly conservative. But I don't draw moral equivalence between having outdated views, or even a shitty belief system to physically hitting women. I mean, or, to physically hitting
I mean, you could argue that Pacquiao saying homosexuals should be put to death, and this guy is loved in the Philipines.
Right, and he's
is
a
much
political
worse.
figure, so he actually has some ability to make things happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, it's... But the thing is that with Mayweather, like, what he's not just somebody who beats women. He's somebody who beats women, and he's unapologetic for it. And
he's a role model. People love him, like some people.
Yeah, I mean,
some people.
But he says, like, when he's challenged on it, he doesn't say, I didn't beat these women. I never laid a finger on a woman. He says, where's the proof? There's no proof.
Yeah.
He's just this guy, like, it's brushed under the table consistently. With Pacquiao, he's making his views known, and you might think his views suck, and I do, but they're his views, they're his political viewpoints. At least he's upfront and honest about him. Mayweather is everybody knows that hitting women is wrong. Some people don't believe that abortion is a right or that homosexuality is a right. There are people who honestly hold that belief, and I think they're wrong, and I don't like it when people hold those views, but there's some honesty to it. It's not, the difference between that and somebody who just like hits women because of whatever reason. I guess
I'd say they're both equally ignorant, it seems like to me. But yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Next one, greetings and salutations. Jaron Minikir here, faithful listener since the beginning. I've always listened to the podcast on the treadmill while working out from Maastricht in the Netherlands. I have a question regarding Phil Ivey. It's always amazed me that he is still considered the greatest ever, as he's been steadily losing ever since 2011 when Full Tilt shut down. Up to that point, his graph was one straight line up, Black Friday hits, and now it's one way down. The suspicious devil on my shoulder suggests that the Full Tilt marketing machine made every effort to make him the greatest ever, and is it far-fetched to suggest that they may have been helping him out a bit? Keep up the good work. Yeah, and he sent some graphs that show Ivey has indeed was $20 million up until Black Friday, straight line up, $6.5 million down since. I mean,
I do not subscribe to
I don't believe it either. I think there's probably a lot of other reasons, like Phil just isn't as good as he was at the time, or people got better.
The competition, he still plays against everybody else, at their best game and all this kind of stuff. All the usual reasons that people often lose at poker, even when they didn't.
Indeed.
Lose at poker. It's not.
I don't think it's
hard to be the best of the world forever.
If I had to assign a percentage chance that they were cheating for Phil Ivey, it would be under 1%. I think.
I agree. Well under 1%.
Yeah. All right. So that is the mailbag for this week. We are now going to head out to the Isle of Man. We're going to talk to Mr. Brian Slick, not Steve Day this week. We're going to talk to Brian about the Scoop and what's going on there. Brian, we have 8 events in the books, and in the 2015 Scoop, all the guarantees have been demolished, which I wanted to have pick a bone with you about these guarantees. They got to be realistic. You're crushing these things. When are you going to come close to guessing what these prize pools are going to be like?
Well, I hope that we don't ever have to sweat one really all that much. Every year there's a couple. Every year there's at least a couple that we as registration is winding down, we're like, are we going to make it? But so far this year there haven't really been any difficulties yet.
You got to be extremely happy with the results so far through the first 8 events on the turnout.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell you what, though, I mean, if anybody's happy with things so far, I mean, how about Jason Mercier? I mean, seen the 24 hours he's had I think he's won. I know he's won. He won 2 events in the space of about 24 hours.
He won the
and hosted a final table in the middle of all that.
Oh, really? So I didn't know he did that. He won the high Badoogie and the high no limit draw. Not huge fields, but still, this counts. Real money, real watches, all of the titles, and it seemed like he was real proud of the fact that he did take down these scoop events. It shows you that people really care about the prestige of this series.
Yeah, it was actually kind of funny because we were in the Skype chat with him while he was hosting the final table of, I think it was 3H, and we're hosting, and the support representative says, "Oh, by the way, Jason, congratulations on winning the Badoogie." He's like, "Oh yeah, thanks." But this was going on while he was hosting the final table for the 3H. He's just, very casual, going along. No, nothing, just winning a big major tournament,
Nothing serious. I want to talk to you about some of the changes for this year. I noticed that you have gotten rid of a lot of the turbos. What was the reason behind that? It's more about the T-Coop now when you're moving the turbos over to that, and we're concentrating on the other formats here?
Yeah, that was one of the big changes for this year. Is that there's just been a growing sentiment that turbos don't really have a place in championship level poker. So we got rid of almost all of them. There are a couple left in Scoop, and we've gone with variable level timing for a couple of the later events, and just regular Scoop level timing for the majority of the later events, and just going with 2-day tournaments so that people don't have to play for 24 or 25 hours in a tournament that started at night. But we have the Turbo Championship in January, and people can play in that, and they still get great structures and whatnot. But for Scoop, and I would say probably for W Coop as well, there's a push for W Coop to not have any turbos at all. I don't know if that's something that we'll do. The W Coop schedule, we'll be working on it actually in the next couple of weeks. The first draft of the W Coop schedule will be coming out right after Scoop, and I won't be surprised if there are no turbos in W Coop. We'll have to see.
That would disappoint me as a rec fish, Brian.
You like to?
I like the turbos. I like getting it done all in one day and not having to play till 4 a.m. But can you talk a little bit about the variable level times? Because I don't know if everybody in the audience knows necessarily what variable level times means.
Okay. Well, it's actually quite simple, and it's something that's been done in live poker for probably 50 years. In a variable level time tournament, like say for example, the first 10 levels last 5 minutes each, and then the next 10 levels last 8 minutes each, and then the next 10 levels after that last 10 minutes each, and so on and so forth through the tournament. It just enables us to control the movement through the structure in a different way to adjust the depth of the structure throughout the tournament without being fixed on one particular way that the blind structure is timed.
Right.
The first variable level times tournament in this Scoop is actually event 22. Although for the rebuys, we've had 2 take place already. One of the things we did for the rebuys this year was during the rebuy period, in each of the rebuy tournaments, the rebuy levels are 15 minutes each, 6 of them, and then the normal Scoop timing takes place after the rebuy period is over. And we did that just to make sure that the rebuy period is meaningful, that there's actual chip movement. Because, like in the past, for example, in the high events, in the no limit tournament, the rebuy period would only be three levels long. And, you're starting with 3,000 chips, and you're in a rebuy period where the level's 30-60, and that's not really anything meaningful.
Mm-hmm. I've always thought that, at least in the live poker context, the reason why levels are different is because later in tournaments, the players tend to take longer to make decisions, and so I don't know if that's also true online. It probably does. I mean, there's always issues with there's obviously a time bank that's online, and that doesn't happen in live tournaments. But is that a reason? And sort of talk a little bit about the sort of the use of time banks. Is that something that you guys study, like how long people make decisions at various levels, or how deep in the tournament, or close to the money? Obviously, there's stalling issue, all that kind of stuff.
I think we mostly addressed that with the incremental time bank. That's something we added a couple of years ago where, we no longer have, you just get a set amount of time at the start of the tournament. We give you a certain amount of time, and then as you stay in the tournament longer, the longer you survive, you get time added to your time bank.
Yeah.
And I think we've mostly addressed it that way. We haven't made a deep study of whether people are taking longer for their decisions later in the tournament. I think it's generally accepted that the more important the decision is, when there's more money on the line, people are going to take longer to make those decisions. I mean, obviously, if you're in level 1 and you've got a decision for your stack, but you're either out or you're in, it is going to be it's still a significant decision. It's not as important a decision as when you're at the final table playing heads up for $1 million. That second one is obviously a much bigger decision. So I think it's just one of those things that people take as read, or just take from anecdotal evidence that that's a bigger decision. So people are going to take more time to make it.
Brian, talk to us about the 3-stack event. That's a new tournament, the move towards that, and the structure.
Okay, 3-stack is something that is added this year. It's a pretty unique form of poker that, as I understand it, was very popular in Europe. Basically, it's exactly what it sounds like. Players get 3 stacks to start the tournament. We give them 15,000 chips, and it's 3 stacks of 5,000. At the start of the tournament, they can choose to put all 3 stacks in play immediately, or just 1 or 2, so it's entirely up to the player. Stacks that aren't in play, so for any given hand, if a stack's not in play, if you go all in, whatever stack you have on the table at the time, that counts as your all in. So if you've got 2 stacks held back, they're not in play. You can be all in and only have 5,000 chips, then you've got 10,000 in reserve. So then, you lose your all in, I've still got 2 stacks left. And we've got 2 of these tournaments, 1 no limit hold'em and 1 PLO. And throughout the tournament, you can bring in your stacks at any point. And there's a certain point in each tournament when all the stacks are forced in, no matter what. But like I say, until that time, you can choose to bring them in or leave them out. It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. We experimented with a lot of different settings for this before we made up our minds what we're going to do with Scoop. We tried 3-stack, 5-stack. We even tried 10-stack in a hyper turbo format just to see what people thought of it, and in the end we settled on 3-stack. Seems to be actually more popular for PLO, which I admit on this one I don't have a deep understanding of it. I've never played this format of poker. I was actually wondering if Terrence might have some insight on it, because I've never played this format, so I don't have a deep understanding of it.
Yeah, well, I think the general idea is that it's very easy to go much more
equities run closer.
Equities run closer, so it's it's sort of the same idea behind the PLO tournaments at the World Series, being you can take all of your chips right away, or you can leave some chips in reserve. That's the sort of idea. There's so much variance, and you're getting it in as a flip so often, I think.
Yeah.
The idea.
Let's talk about the extended late reg, Brian. This year it seems to be probably helping in the total overall numbers.
Again, very Wreckfish friendly, by the way.
Yes,
I hate the first 3 levels.
That's right. You can skip those.
Yeah.
Well, just one of the things we've been looking at this year overall is just the fact that we've been closing late registration in a lot of our tournaments probably just too early based on the structure. You look at one of the things we looked at for the Anniversary Million, for example, was the depth of the structure at the point that we previously been closing late registration. I don't remember the exact number, but I believe it was something like people could still come in with something on the order of 4 pretty big blinds. And we just decided to individually, tournament by tournament, look at the structures, decide on what the minimum depth of the structure we want it to be that players could late register. We don't want people to come in the tournament with 5 big blinds. That's ridiculous.
Right.
But if somebody can come in, with 10 or 12 or 15, whatever the threshold is for that tournament, then we've extended late registration to that point. And for some of the tournaments, it's actually significantly deeper than it has been in the past. Like Super Tuesday replacement, you can register as late as 4 hours into the tournament. Although, it is helping the numbers. Although I would point out that for the Super Tuesday replacement that played last night, for example, it's actually still going on, of course. It actually beat last year's total before that extra hour late registration kicked in, which is nice. It's really good to see that. The love for the Super Tuesday just continues unabated. That prize pool's enormous. So I think it's
1.7 million, 1,723 runners for that event. Pretty crazy.
It's incredible. A lot of money at stake.
Yeah, we talked about Jason Mercier. That's a great result. You've got him hosting those final tables and maybe some more. I think even Chris Moneymaker went deep in a couple of events.
Excellent.
Yeah. Before we let you go, I want to. I was preparing for the segment. I looked at your LinkedIn profile, Brian. And got down to the bottom there from years and years and years ago, where you were in the Army and you were an Abrams tank gunner. And I'm fascinated by tanks and how they perform in battle. I was hoping I could ask you a couple quick questions. First of all, what does it take to actually do any damage to a tank?
Can you run up and hit it with a bat?
RPG. Does that do anything? Or what does it take? What does it take to take out a tank?
To take out a tank, another tank.
That's it.
Basically, you would need either another tank or an A-10 Warthog. Are you familiar with that?
No, what's an A-10 Warthog?
Just a huge gun?
Sounds bad.
A-10 is probably the ugliest plane in existence.
Oh, it's a plane.
It's got an enormous chain gun on the bottom of it, a 30-millimeter machine gun. And we used to call it tanker's best friend because it's on our side, but it takes out tanks from above. Javelin missile will take out a tank, but again, that's on our side, so it didn't.
We're all good.
But yeah, it's Abrams is bad mammer jammer. Not a lot that can do damage to it.
How about that thing in Saving Private Ryan where the guy runs up, opens the hole, and tosses the grenade?
Tosses a grenade. Does that ever happen? Is that realistic?
Well, that would be a problem, but we would lock the hatches for something like that.
Yeah.
But it was an exciting period of my life, and is 8 years that I served in the military. I actually exited the military. My final day in service was July 1st of 2006, and my first day salaried with Pokerstars was July 1st, 2006.
Oh wow!
Pretty much. From one to the other, I exited the Army on the medical severance. I was injured in Iraq, and after a couple of years of physical therapy and surgeries and whatnot, they said it's time to go. And so, as I was transitioning out, I managed to latch on with Pokerstars and grab that opportunity with both hands, and here I am.
Pokerstars was desperately short in guys who knew how to
work tanks.
That was a big gap for them.
Yeah, that's their...
Yeah, they needed somebody who knew something about tanks, clearly. So, it just happened to be a good marriage at the right time.
So were you, if you don't want to answer, no problem, but were you part of Iraqi freedom? Because I think back to that time, and when the tanks are rolling through the desert, and I'm thinking, there's really nothing that the Iraqis have that could do any damage to these tanks.
Yes, that's fine. I'll talk about that briefly. Yes, I was. I wasn't on a tank for that. I was driving what's called an M113. It's basically a light armored vehicle. I was driving around two Air Force guys controlling close air support. They put a tanker in there because the Air Force guys, they're Air Force. They don't know anything about moving around in a ground fight. And my vehicle was the sixth in the entire coalition to cross the border. I had a front row seat for quite a while. And matter of fact, I don't know how much. This may sound a little weird, but it's the truth. I don't know how much of the pictures and stuff you saw during the war, but if you happen to see a photograph of two soldiers playing table tennis in a palace about 3 or 4 weeks in, that was apparently a popular picture because it was like the first deep breath we were able to take after a few weeks of fighting. But there was a picture of two guys playing table tennis in one of the palaces, and I was the guy on the right.
Nice.
The guy on the left was a friend named Nick Taylor.
I've already found
I had friends from all over the country. I had friends from all over the country sending it to me.
That's awesome.
It was real, believe me.
Oh, I bet. Thanks so much, Brian. Really appreciate your time this week, and I know you're going to be busy here with Scoop for the next little while, and we will check in probably later and see how everything went. Have a good day, sir.
And thank you, and thanks for the look back. That was not what I expected on the Scoop Pokercast.
No, I guess. Well, of course, we all appreciate your service.
Steve Day's background is much less interesting.
Steve can't talk about tanks.
Yeah,
he's not. That's not his thing.
Talks about hockey and poker like the rest of us.
That's right. Thanks, Brian. Really appreciate it.
My honor and privilege to serve. Thank you, guys.
Talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
That was Brian Slick, of course, over at the tournaments team at Pokerstars.com, running the very, very popular Scoop series that's going on right now over there.
How do you get from running tanks and blowing stuff up to managing tournaments?
In the same day, by the way. He quit. He was out of the service and hired the same day.
Whoever his boss is at the time looking over his resume, it's like, well, you know how to blow stuff up.
That seems like a good skill set.
Like it works to build that.
Exactly.
Keywords, tournaments, tanks, same thing.
It's all the same. Thanks so much again to Brian, and that's going to take us into the Invitational. This is the PokerStars Invitational for PokerCast listeners, a tournament we run every Sunday for the fine folks over at PokerStars. They add $500 to the prize pool, considering it's a $1 buy-in. That's a pretty great feature right there. So check it out. It's in the private tab of the tournament's lobby. It is 10 a.m. Pacific now, right? You switched the time a little earlier for the folks. 10 a.m. Pacific. I'm going to do the math here. 1 Eastern, 6 GMT. Look at me, just on the fly. Figure that out. I'm a whiz. So that's going to be this Sunday. And
I thought GMT was 4 hours ahead of Eastern. Is that not right?
It's 8 hours ahead of where we are, so it's 5 hours ahead of Eastern. Yeah,
all right. I'll take
so I can do math better than you. This is going to be 4 max ante up. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, it can be
4 max ante up.
The ante up is appropriate because we just had Brian Slick. I believe he's the inventor of the ante.
He is.
It's a great format. Unfortunately, I was looking and I don't think it's coming back to the World Series this year. It was really popular last year in the live format.
I never got to play because I was always in something else.
That's right. All right.
Humble brag.
Yeah.
Password this week is going to be Mercier. That is the winner of 2 of the first 8 events of the Scoop, Mr. Jason Mercier. So that is his last name, Mercier.
Yeah.
All lowercase, all one word. Obviously, one word.
And it doesn't matter whether you use the French or American pronunciation.
They're both the same.
Yes, they're both
that's going to be the Invitational. We've also have we found out if we have a Play Money Invitational yet?
I've been in contact with the
We're
Play
trying
Money
to get that
Poker
worked out.
Manager. There should be one.
We'll do
I
the
should probably
following
have
next
it
Sunday.
figured out.
Yeah.
No, I should probably have it figured out for this Sunday.
By the end of the show?
Now that we've had a bona fide poker celebrity win, the Play Money tournament, it's got to get done.
Kev Math. Indeed. Okay, so we'll work on that throughout the rest of the show.
Just pay attention to the show thread if you want to play the Play Money one, and I'll post in there if we get it set up.
Well, I'll tell you what, if we don't get to it by the end of the show, we'll wait a week. But if we can get to it, listen to the entire show. And if we do put it in at the end, we've worked it out with the fine folks over at Stars that we are going to have it this week. If not, we'll wait for the following week.
Okay, and I don't think there will be a stream this Sunday.
No streaming?
Have to,
you're busy?
Yeah, girlfriend's going away for a few months. I have to spend the weekend.
That's annoying.
Yeah, I know. God, right in the middle of Scoop. Why do you have to inconvenience me like that?
Indeed. All right. Should we wrap up the show? We got lots more, but that's been a lot of stuff.
We've got some forum shout-outs. We'll get to them next week. We'll save
some favorite things. We'll
save
it all for next week.
Yeah.
We got a lot in there this week. Thanks so much to Mr. Doug Polk, who joined us after the challenge, Mr. Joe Tall, and Brian Slick from Stars in the middle of the Scoop. Appreciate that, Terrence. Another big week of training coming up. Appreciate you coming in.
In the midweek, I think I'm going to take the night off. I'm a little beat up. I got a bit of a sore neck, so
go rest for.
But I've been training hard, and I feel like this is the one. This is the one. This is a good one.
Good.
This is been a good camp. So
Rossco, thank you for coming.
It was like
in,
a slap re-slap.
Appreciate the production value. It's awesome as always. And thanks to you for listening to the show. Really appreciate you tuning in every week. We wouldn't be here if you didn't. So please check it out and head over to the forum and jump in the show thread and give us we're really down on the comments in the show thread. We only had
and all the cool stuff is in there. You get to watch the PLO hands and everybody makes reference to all the things in the show. It's a lot.
We need feedback. We're needy. We need feedback. Yes. We like to hear that you either like or don't like the show. Please feel free to come and speak your mind. Also, the televised hand madness, come and nominate hands until the start of the Invitational on Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific. Please let us know which hands you want to see in the 32 hand bracket. That's going to be a lot of fun coming up. Next week we will come at you. I think we're going to record on Wednesday again, so we will come at you with Bart Hansen and lots of other stuff. So until then, we'll talk to you soon. Terrence is correct. EDT +4 is GMT.
That's what I looked it up real quick. I got
Just right say now, what time is it in London and Google and see what it says.
My computer says it's 6:44 in.
Oh, because you know what it is? It's daylight savings is not gone into effect yet or something.
No.
We're both right. I'm not conceding. I'm not conceding. Yeah, that's right. Statistical tie. That's going to be our Woody intro.
That is going to be a meme for a long time for me personally. Anytime you're just wrong, you're not actually wrong. It's a statistical tie.
We're within the.
Yeah, it's not statistically significant. You weren't wrong by enough.
Right. Wasn't enough wrong. All right, we're recording?
Yep. When you consider how many time zones there could have been.